Chapter 878, Suyi's body trembled slightly. Ninth Master. Si Mingrong looked devastated. Is there any way Master could speak a few words to us? Si Yihan had fallen ill too suddenly, and he hadn't even left any words behind. While appearing sad, Si Mingli patted Si Mingrong's shoulder. Second brother, my deepest sympathies. It's already quite a feat that Master was able to hang on till now. The Si family still has us. When the chief specialist heard his words, his expression became even uglier. He glanced at Si Mingli with an indescribable expression and coughed lightly. Mr. Si is awake. Si Mingrong was overjoyed all of a sudden. What? Awake? Yes, Mr. Si. The specialist wasn't able to complete his sentence. Si Mingli was stunned. He thought it was just a momentary recovery of consciousness before his death. Si Mingli quickly interrupted the specialist and said urgently, "Let's go inside then. Hurry and check if Sis is awake and bring her over. Otherwise, I'm afraid she might not be able to see him for the last time." Yes? The guards by the side sprinted off to get the old madam. Specialist. Forget it. They'll figure it out when they get in. Hence, the group of elders hurriedly followed behind the specialist and entered the ward. Si Mingli had already mentally prepared himself. The moment he stepped inside, his eyes turned red and he shot towards the hospital bed like an arrow. Then he knelt on the floor. Master, don't worry about us. Just go. In the next second, halfway through his cries, that fake mournful expression stiffened on his face like ice. All he saw was a white hospital bed with nobody lying on it. Instead, he found a pair of long straight legs appearing before him. Si Mingli's back froze and his gaze slowly shifted upwards as a fear he had never felt before swept over him. Why is fourth uncle being so ceremonious suddenly? Si Yihan straightened his sleeves as he looked down condescendingly at Si Mingli, who was at his feet. Si Yihan, who was supposed to be lying on his deathbed, had already changed out of his hospital attire and was wearing a tailor-made suit Yuan gave him. He even had a dark-colored rose embroidered on the pocket of his chest, and with his charming face, it looked even more eye-catching. At the moment, he was standing against the light from the window and was arranging his cuffs casually. He didn't look like he was about to die at all. Instead, he looked radiant with an icy gaze. Si Mingli's eyes constricted to its limits. He was so frightened that he took 2 steps back like he had just seen a ghost. Not only Si Mingli, but Si Mingrong and the other elders were completely taken aback like they were looking at a real ghost. Then Sun Baichao explained, Congratulations. Ninth Master is in good health now. The blood he spat out just now was the pooled blood that was in his body for years, and he entered a deep sleep temporarily so his body could heal itself. Si Mingrong took some time to return to his senses until he was able to speak again. That is Master's health. Still in any danger right now? Sun Baichao laughed. Although Ninth Master's illness can't be completely cured, his condition has stabilized. As long as he continues to take care of his health, it's only a matter of time before he'll fully recover. It's all thanks to Yuan's meticulous care lately. As Ninth Master's attending physician, I'm honestly ashamed. All of you should really thank her properly. After hearing what Sun Baichao said, Si Mingli was dumbfounded and in disbelief. He was completely stunned. How could it be that Si Yihan, who was near death just moments ago, became alive and kicking in the next second? I just sent that cheap woman to prison. Dead meat. Hurry, get that woman out of there. Chapter 879. 879 Si Mingli was still kneeling on the ground. His face stiffened and he was twitching as he said, I heard the doctor said you're awake, so I was too excited, way too excited. He then stood up and pretended like nothing happened. Damn it, not only is Si Yihan perfectly fine, but his health is starting to improve. How's this possible? Dr. Liu, is there really nothing seriously wrong with Master's health? Si Mingli probed. When the chief specialist heard that, he was embarrassed and said, Sorry, I made an incorrect diagnosis just now and didn't check things clearly. Old Sun is more experienced and Mr. C is really out of danger. At this moment, a hobbling figure walked in with a servant. Dr. Liu, did you tell the truth just now? Specialist Liu saw that the old madam was walking in and he hurriedly replied, Old madam, old son and I confirmed and checked together. We're not wrong. Sun Bai Chao looked at the old madam and pacified her. Old madam, please calm down. It's proven now that Miss Wan Wan's recuperation methods were extremely effective, and as long as she continues, even Ninth Master's old illness has a 50% chance of fully recovering. That's fantastic. That's really great. This is a blessing from our ancestors. A blessing. The old madam was extremely emotional as she walked up to Si Han and scanned her grandson up and down. Seeing that he was standing there healthy, not looking pale anymore, she was very elated. Upon seeing that things had reached an end, Si Ming Li's body was trembling as he took a gulp. Before, he merely criticized the girl, and one of Yijie's legs was crippled for being disrespectful to the mistress of the household. If Si Han found out, he had locked the girl up in the dark chamber without permission. Moreover, now the girl was not only the future mistress of the household, but she also saved Master's life too. Taking this opportunity now that Si Han was placating the old madam, Si Mingli retreated from the crowd, silently then hurriedly called his confidant. Hey, where's that woman? We took her to the dark chamber already. Should we begin the torture? Torture my ass. Hurry, get her out of there right now. Ah, get her out? Yes, immediately. Right now. Don't ask why. Okay. Si family's dark chamber. After the two guards at the entrance received the call from Si Mingli, they rushed back, baffled. Meanwhile, Yuanwan was squatting there with her chin in her hand and was looking at the man in the opposite chamber getting tortured. From the Punisher and the prisoner's conversation, she found out that the man had infiltrated the Si family and stole a large number of trade secrets. He had been locked up for 3 months already and his lips were still sealed, unwilling to reveal who the mastermind was. Wrong, master. Your whipping technique is too rough. So unprofessional. The angle is wrong. Really, it's not painful at all if you whip this way, and you're wasting your energy. Look, you're already sweating all over, and he hasn't even told you a thing. Let me teach you. There's a special method to save you trouble. It's called the feeling of deprivation. Just lock him up somewhere without any natural light, sounds, or smells, and let him wear something that's very soft. He won't feel a thing when he wears it, which will make him lose all senses, including his sense of time. Let me tell you, a normal person would have a mental breakdown in such a situation in less than 16 hours. Even for those who received special training before, they would only be able to last a day at most. Chapter 880. Yi Wanwan continued criticizing, and the big brother, who was executing the torture, cracked the whip in his hands. Come. You do it. I'll let you do the interrogating, all right? Yi Wanwan grinned. Sure. The mole, who was pretending to be dead, immediately stiffened up. His eyes widened as he shook his head violently with fear. Big bro, please continue whipping me. Don't swap with her. At this moment, footsteps were approaching. Si Ming Li's confidants came over. Duan Ji, open the door. Let this woman out, one of them said. Yi Wanwan was leaning against the bars. When she heard that, her expression changed and she looked at the two of them coldly. Let me out? The big brother, who was in charge of torture, looked like he was about to break down. It was as if they were his knights in shining armor. You guys are finally here. This woman is really something else. Did you guys bring her here to be tortured, or to torture me? The two of them looked at each other, then looked at excited Yi Wanwan, whose eyes were glistening. Then they turned to the big brother, who looked like he was breaking down, and they could roughly guess what happened. Thankfully, they came over in time. Stop chatting. Open up and let her go. The two of them urged him. Although they didn't know why their boss wanted to let her go, they only needed to execute his orders. The big brother didn't need to know any more either, and quickly went over to open the cell door. My little grandaunt, please get out. Stop bothering me. Yi Wanwan raised her brows and stood in the same spot. Get out? Who said I wanted to leave? The three of them were immediately dumbfounded. Missy, didn't you hear us? We said we're letting you go. Yi Wanwan yawned and directly sat down on the floor cross-legged. Who wants to leave? You guys can just let anybody else out. I'm not done having fun yet. The three people. What? The mole who was whipped till his skin hung in tatters and his flesh was battered. I want to get out, eh? While the three of them were in a daze, Si Ming Li's footsteps could be heard coming from behind them as he rushed over. Where is she? Have you let her out yet? Si Ming Li probed urgently. The guard looked at Yi Wanwan then answered, appearing like he was in a very difficult situation. Fourth elder. She's not willing to leave. Useless. You can't even do such a simple task. Get lost. Seeing how flustered and frustrated Si Ming Li was, Yi Wanwan already knew that. Si Han was awake, and he was fine. Otherwise, Si Ming Li would never have chased her out with such urgency. Yi Wanwan heaved a sigh of relief. The big, heavy rock in her heart was finally gone. Meanwhile, in the ward, the old madam hugged Si Han and cried emotionally for a very long time. Si Han soothed the old madam as he looked out the window into the distance and felt like something was off. Sui was standing by the side and was extremely anxious. Finally, he found a chance to speak. Ninth Master, Feng Yiping quickly interrupted Su Yi. Housekeeper Su, Master just escaped from death. He must have many things to say to old madam. Let's not stay here and disturb them. The old madam held her grandson's hand tightly. All of you should leave first. I'd like to talk to Ajio. Su Yi's expression turned frosty. He ignored Feng Yiping, who tried to stop him, and directly said, Ninth Master, old madam, Miss Wanwan is still in the dark chamber. When the old madam heard that, her face changed instantly. What did you say? Wanwan's in the dark chamber? Chapter 881. 881. Even the look on Si Han's face changed. Dark chamber. He clearly arranged for someone to protect her and allow her to leave safely. When he didn't see her the moment he woke up, he assumed she definitely left China already. Dark chamber. That's the Si family's prison. Even if a living person walked out of there, they would leave crippled. A sudden cold and menacing atmosphere emerged in the ward. In the dark chamber, Si Ming Li's phone rang and it was a call from Feng Yiping. Si Ming Li said in an annoyed tone, Hello? What is it? At the other end of the phone, Feng Yiping reported in a low voice, We have a problem, Fourth Elder. Ninth Master knows about it and is rushing towards the prison right now. What did you just say? Si Ming Li was panicking. After he hung up, Si Ming Li quickly wiped off the sweat on his forehead and walked towards Yi Wanwan. He had a complete change in attitude and smiled as he performed a 90-degree bow. Miss Yi. Yi Wanwan had a faint smile and looked at Si Ming Li. Everything's fine. Why's fourth uncle being so ceremonious suddenly? Upon hearing her saying the exact same thing Si Han said, Si Ming Li's face nearly contorted into a snarl, but he suppressed his anger. Miss Yi, please pardon me for being disrespectful before. I was simply too worried about Master's health and just wanted to be able to answer the elders at the hospital, so my tone was a little harsh. As a girl, your immune system is weaker and it's really chilly here. You should hurry up and leave. Yi Wanwan didn't mind at all. Fourth uncle, it's no big deal. It's very spacious here and very interesting. There are also free performances by an expert. Si Ming Li's face twitched, and he finally couldn't hold his anger back anymore. Yi Wanwan, I'm warning you. Don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit one. Yi Wanwan, thank you very much, fourth uncle, but I don't drink. As he watched the time passing by slowly while Si Han was already on his way down, Si Ming Li finally revealed his true nature. Why are you guys still standing there? Help Miss Yi leave this place. Si Ming Li ordered coldly. Yes. The two guards gave each other a knowing look and grabbed Yi Wanwan aggressively. In the next second, before he could touch Yi Wanwan, one of them was sent flying with a kick. Following that, the other man fell to the ground after feeling a severe pain to his knee. Although he heard this woman was pretty skilled, he was completely stunned when he saw that his confidants couldn't even get close to her. Yi Wanwan caressed her fingers and looked at Si Ming Li. She laughed casually. I wonder if fourth uncle has heard of this phrase before? Si Mingli knitted his brows tightly. Yi Wanwan continued, it's easier to invite a devil than to send it away. Si Mingli was so mad that he nearly spat out blood. At this moment, there were numerous footsteps coming towards them from a distance. Si Mingli turned around and saw a threatening figure. His entire body stiffened. Master. Aside from Si Han, the old madam was there too, and behind them was Su Yi, Su Changkuan, Si Mingrong, Feng Yiping, and the group of elders. They all arrived grandly. Ninth Master. The torturer was stunned, then he bowed respectfully. Ninth Master. It was as if the two guards had just seen a ghost. They stood up immediately and knelt at the side, trembling with fear. They didn't think Ninth Master would actually come to the dark chamber. Chapter 882. Isn't Ninth Master about to die? Why did he come here, and how does he look perfectly fine? They only dared to do this to this woman because they thought Ninth Master was dying, and Si Mingli would be taking over the family. Si Han was only focused on one thing. His eyes grazed past everyone as he walked towards the girl. When he saw her in the dark chamber, his pitch-black eyes suddenly deepened. There, he saw her in a little red dress. Her black hair fell over her shoulders. She had a rosy complexion, and her cherry blossom lips looked tender. In this gloomy and terrifying dark chamber, she was like a rose in full bloom, unbelievably beautiful, illuminating the darkness. Si Han froze for a moment, and he stood in front of her. His breath was slightly ragged as the rage in his eyes rose. Why aren't you leaving? Yi Wanwan smiled. Her eyes looked like a myriad of stars in the galaxy. I was waiting for you. What if you woke up and didn't see me? Aside from Si Xia, an unexpected person suddenly appeared at Jean Garden in the middle of the night and wanted to take her away. However, she already made the decision to stay and obviously didn't follow him. As for how she actually got that person to compromise, it was best that Si Han didn't know about it. I was waiting for you. What if you woke up and didn't see me? Si Han's heart was shaken as he looked at her standing before him, saying those words with such a sweet smile. At the same time, the air around him became colder. It might have been because the prison was too gloomy that everyone felt a chill up their spines. Swish. Si Han took off his blazer and strode over to Yi Wanwan, wrapping her body up. Si Han had a terrifying look on his face. He looked like a demon that had just stepped out of hell. Yi Wanwan fell into his embrace and said shyly, What took you so long? I was so scared. Guard A, Guard B, torturer. A certain someone lying on the ground. Si Han looked at Su Yi. Su Yi immediately whipped out the phone and walked up to Si Mingli. Dad. Save me. Save me. Si Yi's blood-curdling shrieks came through the receiver. Yijie. Si Mingli's face was as white as sheet. Lately, Si Han had been recuperating and hadn't gotten involved in any bloody fights. He even forgot how ruthless this man was. Si Han covered Yi Wanwan's ears and didn't let her hear Si Yijie's horrifying screams. After that, he shot an icy glance towards Si Mingli. His eyes lacked any human emotion. From today onwards, Si Mingli will be discharged from all duties and is expelled from the family clan. He is not allowed to join the clan again for the rest of his life. The moment Si Han said those words, everyone was stunned. What? Si Mingli's expression changed completely. How can you do that? I don't agree to this. This punishment isn't according to the rules. Yijie already took the punishment in my place, right? With his status in the Si family, he thought the worst that could happen was his son's other leg getting crippled. But who knew that Si Han could be so heartless? Sis-in-law. Si Mingli looked at the old madam by the side. The old madam shut her eyes without a care for Si Mingli. Big bro. Say something. The master is being so unreasonable. How could you not care? Si Mingli clenched his fists, and there was a subtle change in his eyes. Si Han was the master of the Si family, but the Si family wasn't controlled by him alone. Si Mingrong stepped forward and said in a deep voice, Master, this punishment is too serious. There's no such punishment in the family rules. Si Han. There isn't? Ming Rong felt like he was soaking in a cold pond when the man's eyes were on him. Yes. Si Han's gaze swept past all the people who were ready to defend Si Mingli, and he said indifferently, "There is now rules? I make the Si family's rules." Chapter 883. There is now? Following Si Han's cold words, there was a dead silence in the gruesome, dark chamber. None of the elders dared to say a word. Ming Rong frowned and didn't refute in the end. At the end of the day, this situation was really not in their favor. If Si Han disrupted the state of the family clan for a woman, normally, he would have to be stopped, but this woman restored his health, which was tantamount to saving the entire family clan. The rest of the elders hid in the corner, and they all chose to feign death. Although the master's actions were a little over the top, they were in no place to comment at this time. Furthermore, who would dare to? It was probably over for Si Mingli this time. There were some elders who realized they were still wearing the little white flower Si Mingli gave them for the funeral, and they quickly took it off. Si Han, don't you dare. Si Mingli was in disbelief. He couldn't believe Si Han would actually do this. Young man, don't forget that when your dad died, who supported the Si family. Now that you spread your wings, this is how you treat me, huh? Seeing that Si Han was pushing him to his death, Si Mingli couldn't play pretend any longer, and he started shouting crazily. The old madam's face turned ugly when she heard that. This Si Mingli had been resting on his laurels and was very arrogant and ambitious, getting increasingly out of control. She was just being considerate of Si Han's illness, so she hadn't dared to do anything reckless, but who knew that Si Mingli would get so greedy? The more he got, the more he wanted. Si Mingli was still yelling, "The Si family should belong to me. Who are you to take it away?" Master, shitty master. Seeing that he was getting more and more out of hand, the old madam gave the guard a meaningful glance. "Take him down." Yes. Si Mingli was quickly dragged away, and his shouts echoed in the dark chamber. "Dumb guy. You'll die a horrible death. Let's see how much longer you have to live." A tinge of cold light flashed in Yu Wanwan's eyes. She laid on Si Han's chest and glared frostily in the direction where Si Mingli was being dragged away. "Don't worry about that. He'll live till your coffin rots." Upon hearing this nasty comment from her, Si Han's frozen expression warmed up a little. Yu Wanwan then seemed to have remembered something as she started to look worried. Si Han simply discharged Si Mingli of all his official duties and expelled him from the family clan. This was the same as chasing him out of the Si family. By doing so, wouldn't they never find out who the mastermind was? However, the opposite might happen. As the saying went, a cornered dog will jump over the wall. The old madam urged him. Si Han nodded. He carried Yu Wanwan out, then strode out of the dark chamber. Qin Ruoshi, wearing a white dress, stared gloomily at the man who was holding Yu Wanwan protectively, and she walked away silently. "Ruoshi, what happened?" Qin Feng asked in a low voice over the phone. "Father, Ajio has recovered. The doctor said there shouldn't be anything serious with his health anymore. This guy, we really can't lower our guard around him. Si Mingli, that fool, lost his cool. Serves him right. He can't even win over someone of the younger generation." After Qin Feng was done talking, he added, "Since Si Han's fine now, we'll stick to the original plan. We won't consider the other options. After all, there's only one man in the entire Si family who's worthy of you." Chapter 884. Gene Garden. While most people could meet again after a long separation, Si Han and Yu Wanwan had nearly been separated forever. Yu Wanwan wanted to hug her beauty affectionately, but as soon as they returned home, Si Han arranged for over 10 doctors to check up on her to confirm she didn't have any injuries. She was also forced to drink a huge bowl of super-ultra disgusting ginger soup before she was chased upstairs to take a hot shower. What a serious lack of emotions. Meanwhile, Si Han sat on the sofa downstairs like an ice sculpture. Si Mingli's 2 confidants were dealt with, and the torturer in the dark chamber, Duanli Zhao, had an ashen face as he stood before Si Han. "Ninth Master, I swear to God." I didn't do anything to hurt Miss Yi at all. As he thought about what happened to those two guards, Duanli Zhao, who had been in charge of punishing prisoners for many years, felt a fear that was even more frightening than all the punishments combined as he stood before Si Han. At this moment, Sui was holding a USB in his hand, and he rushed over. Ninth Master, I got the CCTV footage of the dark chamber. Currently, Sui was covered in a cold sweat. If Miss Wanwan suffered in the dark chamber, he really couldn't imagine the consequences. Even though the doctors already conducted a thorough check on Miss Wanwan and confirmed she was physically unharmed, the scars from threats and intimidation from a place like the dark chamber would be harder to heal psychologically. Even if Duanli Zhao didn't cause any substantial harm to Miss Wanwan, he would definitely be doomed considering Master's temper if he scared her even a little. Si Han, play it. Sui glanced at Duanli Zhao helplessly. Yes, Duanli Zhao had worked for the Si family for many years and had always been in charge of the dark chamber. Although he was similar to his immediate superior, Si Mingrong, and was quite inflexible, he was very loyal towards the Si family. But this time, he violated Ninth Master's greatest taboo. Sui didn't dare to delay further as he inserted the USB into the laptop and played the footage immediately. After scanning through the video, Yi Wanwan's figure appeared on the screen. She seemed confident that Si Han would recover. She had delicate makeup on her face and was wearing a stunning dress. Her expression was calm, and she was taken inside by Si Mingli's confidence. Ah, 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 an ear-piercing shriek came from the laptop. In the dark chamber, a man's chest was burnt till his skin split and his flesh protruded. He was drenched in fresh blood that made even Sui cringe a little as he watched by the side. But Si Han's face turned even more terrifying. The heart-wrenching screams grew louder, and Yi Wanwan was brought to the cell opposite the man being punished. Sui swallowed and almost didn't dare to continue watching. No matter how strong Yi Wanwan was, she was still a young lady who just turned 20 years old. How could she stand to look at such things? When Ninth Master went to pick up Miss Wanwan just now, Miss Wanwan was so scared that she fell into Ninth Master's arms immediately. She must have been really frightened. Thoughts ran through Sui's mind before he heard Yi Wanwan's clear voice from the laptop. What era are we in right now? You guys are still using such an old-fashioned method of torture? Yi Wanwan was seen hopping closer to the cell, stretching her head to look inside and even shaking her head while she criticized the guards with disdain. Let me tell you guys, this sort of torture only works on small fishes and prawns. Hey, do you guys have any idea what mental torture is? Do you guys need me to teach you? Oh right, there's more. The 10th method is. Sui watched as the two guards fled while Yi Wanwan continued watching Duanli Zhao with her eyes glistening. She started chattering. Chapter 885. 885. Wrong, Master. Your whipping technique is too rough. So unprofessional. Wrong, the angle is wrong. Hey, let me teach you. There's a special method to save you trouble. In the end, Duanli Zhao was seen on the verge of breaking down in the footage when he tossed the whip to the ground. Come. You do it. I'll let you do the interrogating, all right? In the footage, the girl was all smiles and exclaimed excitedly, "Sure." After watching the entire footage, Si Han, Sui, there must be something wrong with the way I played the footage. Duanli Zhao stood by the side and looked aggrieved. He had almost turned to frost. Ninth Master, how could I have the guts to lie to you? Missy really wasn't scared at all. Sui hadn't expected that the truth was completely different from what he thought. Even Si Han went silent, and his gaze landed on the girl in the footage. He kept looking at her bright and cheeky eyes. She's really cute. Right at that moment, Duanli Zhao's phone started ringing. It was unclear what the caller said, but Duanli Zhao's expression turned even more indescribable. What is it? Sui asked. Duanli Zhao choked a little and replied, That man agreed to confess. Sui, that spy who stole our trade secrets? Duanli Zhao, yes, the one in the footage. He was locked up for over 3 months and I used all sorts of methods, but he just wouldn't speak up. Sui, Then why did he agree to confess all of a sudden? As Sui spoke, he turned to look at the footage. He had a sort of not-so-clever guess. Duanli Zhao. He said he would confess, but he had a condition. Sui. What? Duanli Zhao. Don't hand him over to Miss Yi. Sui. Sui had no idea what to say. Miss Wanwan simply entered the dark chamber once, and not only was she not traumatized, but she even scared the spy so badly that he agreed to confess? Ninth Master. Duanli Zhao carefully looked at the man on the sofa. Si Han waved, indicating that he could leave. Duanli Zhao heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly retreated like he just received amnesty. Sui also kept the laptop on the coffee table. Sui was about to speak to Si Han when footsteps came from upstairs. Yuanwan was done showering and was coming down. Since they were at home, Yuanwan wasn't wearing anything formal and simply wore her fluffy pink bunny pajamas. She looked innocent and harmless, and one would never make a connection between her present self and the girl in the footage. Agio. Showered. In. I'm done. I'm done hug. She had already done the body checkup, drank the ginger soup, and showered. She could finally get a hug, right? Si Han didn't have any demands this time and willingly took her into his arms. Once Yuanwan smelled his familiar scent, she immediately started to yawn. Ever since Si Han spat out blood and went into a coma, she hadn't slept a wink. Si Han furrowed his brows. Go to bed. Yuanwan whined. You have to accompany me. I don't want to sleep alone. I'm scared. Aju, you have no idea how scary and gloomy that dark chamber was. If you woke up any later, I would have had a psychological shadow forever. Sui. Si Han looked at her and kissed her forehead. All right, I'll accompany you. Sui, Master, you're really playing along with her, huh? Chapter 886. The upheaval that nearly caused the entire Xi family and China's business sector to become a mess suddenly dissipated following news of Si Han's recovery. Xi Mingli had always been very cautious and never allowed anyone to have an advantage over him. However, he thought Si Han would die for sure this time, so he was careless and left too many loopholes. Xi Mingli's faction was completely expelled from the Xi family, and at the same time, many of his secret henchmen were exposed. There was a large reshuffling of power in the Xi family once again. Late at night. Dad. It hurts. I'm in pain. Dad. You must take revenge for me. I want them dead. I want them dead. Si Jia kept rolling around in bed. This time, not only was one of his legs crippled, but he was tortured and he was completely disabled now. Si Mingli obviously didn't have the energy to worry about this son of his. He yelled with annoyance. Shut the he up. Do you think I don't have enough problems, huh? Sitting on the sofa opposite Si Mingli was his second son, Si Qian, who rushed back from abroad. Si Qian said gloomily, Father, you were too careless this time. I told you so many times that you must never let your guard down around Si Han, and I also reminded you that you mustn't act recklessly. Why did you still? Si Mingli was furious. Qian, how could you blame me? The news definitely said Si Han was beyond cure, and the doctors even informed us of his critical condition. How could I have known he'd still be alive? Seeing that nobody cared about him, Si Jia threw a tantrum on the bed. Why must it be me? Why do I have to suffer for father? Just because I'm the elder son? Si Qian, you're also his son. Why couldn't it have been you? Si Qian raised his brows with disdain and glanced at Si Jia on the bed. He replied expressionlessly, because you're a useless bum, and this is the only thing you could do for the family. You. Si Qian, I'm going to kill you. Si Jia moved and exacerbated his wounds, which caused him to wail once again. Si Jia glared at him like a madman and yelled, Ha! Si Qian, I'm a useless bum? What are you then? You think you're any better than me? You think you're so high class? Do you think that Qin Ruashi woman would even take one glance at you, huh? Now that Si Han is getting better and Dad was chased out of the Si family, you're nothing. You can only be a spare tire your whole life. In the next second, Si Qian clutched Si Jia's throat tightly. With just a little more strength, Sijie would have probably died. Say that one more time. Qian's handsome and refined face was now extremely hostile. Qian, that's enough. Why do you care about what he says? Si Mingli glanced at his noisy eldest son, then turned to Si Qian and said, that sickly Si Han really thinks he can hide the truth from everyone in China. Qian, don't worry about it. Whether it's the Si family or a woman, what's yours will be yours. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ocean, the morning sun had just risen. The warm glow from the sun silently basked the vintage manor. There was a mysterious vintage pattern engraved on the wall at the entrance of the manor. The word Nya was written in a seal script 1. Suddenly, there was a loud crash of porcelain and the maid screamed in a panic, breaking the silence of the morning. No, this is bad. Little young master is missing. Chapter 887. 887. The next day, early in the morning, elders and higher-ups were lining up outside Jin Garden, waiting to see Si Han. All of them were dressed in bright and auspicious colors, and their servants stood next to them, holding all sorts of gifts. After going through such major unrest, they obviously had to show their loyalty. Si Han sat on the sofa in the living room, while Yuan sat next to him lazily. What surprised her most was that these visitors were mostly the ones attacking her. Miss Yi, this is just a little token to show my respect to you. Please accept it. Miss Yi, you've suffered. After putting in so much effort to take care of Master, you were suspected. That Si Mingli is simply disgraceful. Please accept all these tonics so that you may supplement your health. Yuan glanced at Si Han. Si Han, accept it if you like them. So, Yuan replied, thank you. Although she expected this to happen, she wasn't used to their sudden change in attitude. In the past, even though she had Si Han's backing, he was severely ill and someone else could have taken over his spot anytime. Plus, given her family background, nobody cared about her at all. Nobody expected Yuan would stay by their master's side for so long. Her status even became more secure. Also, she was the one who restored Master's health. Nothing needed to be said about the power of the Qin family. They were a family friend of the Si family. From ancestral times, many marriages tied these two families, so their relationship was complicated and tricky. All the Qins up to this generation, including Qin Ruo Shi, were simply nurtured and groomed to be the future mistresses of the Si family. Everyone accepted this fact. Most of the Si family thought well of the Qin family, but seeing that Yuan wasn't a simple person, they gradually held her in greater esteem and didn't dare to act disrespectfully towards her. It seemed like it was still undetermined whose hands the deer would die in. Old residents, Old Madam, Qin Feng, Si Mingrong were in the living room. Qin Feng came over that day to put some pressure on them. Old Madam, Uncle Rong. The way Master handled this was simply disappointing. The old madam sighed softly and replied, Qin Feng, I understand how you feel. Ruo, she is a good girl. I like her very much, and if she could be with little Ninth, that'd obviously be really great. But when little Ninth returned, I already made it clear to you that little Ninth would be taking charge of his own marriage. This was the only condition he had when he agreed to take over as the head of the household, so I can't break my promise to him. What's more, I see that little Ninth really likes that girl. In the past, I was always worried that she would hurt little Ninth, but time has proven that she is true to little Ninth. Qin Feng's face turned gloomier as he listened to the old madam. The old madam had told them these things before, but he believed Si Han would absolutely choose Qin Ruoshi in the end, so he hadn't taken her seriously. Who would have thought this girl would appear out of nowhere, and Si Han would make her the mistress of the household? Qin Feng sneered. So what old madam means is that you will allow that woman to steal our Ruoshi's place. He didn't believe that the old madam and Si Mingrong would really dare to offend the Qin family. Just how many factions of the Si family were secretly trying to rope in the Qin family right now? It could even be said that whichever faction the Qin family supported would have greatly increased chances of inheriting the Si family. Even though Si Han was the family head, there were quite a few people secretly eyeing his position on the outside. When Si Mingrong heard what was said, he tried to appease Qin Feng. My good nephew, don't be worried. Master's health still needs to be healed by Miss Yi. It's very common for youngsters to fool around, and no matter how capable Master seems right now, I believe that as time passes, he'll see things more clearly and make the right decisions. Chapter 888. Qin Feng scoffed. Our Ruo, she has been raised by her grandparents since she was little. She has good social etiquette, knowledge of business investments, and is proficient in the four arts. I dare say that you wouldn't be able to find another young lady in Imperial City who could compare to her. If the master is still going to persist in doing things his way and makes that lowly woman the mistress of the household, ignoring the engagement between our two families, then he's simply embarrassing the Si family. That's all I have to say. Qin Feng turned around and left immediately after speaking. Qin Ruo, she's title as Imperial City's top young lady from a noble family wasn't unwarranted. If the major influential families didn't know that Qin Ruo she was going to marry into the Si family in the future, there would be so many people at her door asking for her hand that the Qin family's doorstep would be broken. Si Mingrong said gravely, Sis-in-law, I understand you love Master, but you must consider the family's interests. Master doesn't listen to anyone, and only you can convince him right now. If we get into trouble with the Qin family, I'm afraid it would cause the Si family to end up in chaos and danger once again. The old madam slowly opened her eyes. Chaos? Could it get even more chaotic than before little Ninth returned home? If it wasn't for little Ninth, the Si family would have been torn apart long ago. There's something all of you need to be clear on. The Si family needs little Ninth, and we are dependent on him. And in those days, where was the Qin family? They simply sat on the mountain and watched the tigers fighting one, not offering to help at all. They made the excuse that they shouldn't meddle with the internal affairs of the Si family. It was only when the Qin family noticed little Ninth gained power that they recalled the marriage agreement between the two families. They stood by little Ninth's side, merely trying to gain a stable foothold through the marriage. Had it not been for the sake of these so-called family interests and old madam forcing her son into marriage, all these tragedies wouldn't have happened. In order to protect the family, the old madam already lost her only son and even caused little Ninth to suffer from a young age. She couldn't allow this tragedy to happen again. No matter who little Ninth decided to spend the rest of his life with, as long as the girl treated little Ninth sincerely, she would respect him and support his decision. Old Madam was from the Si family, but she was also little Ninth's grandmother. In the evening, Yu Wanwan and Si Han accompanied the old madam to have dinner at the old residence. The old madam stood up and thanked Yu Wanwan sincerely. Wanwan, Grandma really appreciates you. You took great care of little Ninth, and if it wasn't for you putting in so much effort to take care of him, I'm afraid little Ninth would have. If we went with the organ transplant, little Ninth would have suffered from all the surgeries, even if they might prolong his life for a few years. At least there's hope now that he can fully recover. Yuanwan hurriedly stood up to hold the old madam. Grandma, it's no big deal. This is what I was supposed to do. The old madam looked at her own grandson, then turned to the girl next to him and appeared worried. I heard from Dr. Sun that having children may be difficult with Si Han's health, but it's not entirely impossible. Furthermore, his condition is improving, so Wanwan, if you try hard, it might be possible. There was another thing she didn't say explicitly. With Wanwan's current status, it would simply be too challenging to enter the Si family. If she had little Ninth's child, her prestige as the mother would increase as her son's position rose. She would have a greater bargaining chip and could also win over the hearts of many more members of the family. Cough, cough, cough. Yuanwan nearly choked after hearing that. If I try hard? Grandma, shouldn't you be saying this to your grandson? Isn't the man supposed to be the one who takes the initiative with this sort of thing? She's truly his grandma. She probably knows her grandson isn't very comfortable with that aspect. Chapter 889. 889 Han glanced at the embarrassed girl next to him and said expressionlessly, "Grandma, I don't plan on having any kids. Furthermore, Dr. Sun already said it's impossible with my current condition. In the future, we can adopt from the clan." Han spoke assertively and didn't leave any room for negotiation. Nobody knew better than himself that Yuanwan didn't like children and didn't want to have any. The old madam frowned. "This child. Picking a successor is our last resort. Don't you ever want children of your own? What about Wanwan? Have you considered what Wanwan wants?" Yuanwan buried her head and didn't cut in. Actually, she was fine with either. Han said, "Wanwan likes children and wants to have our own. I let her down in this aspect and will try my best to make up for it." Yuanwan was completely stunned. "Huh, since when did I say that? I even mentioned that I hate kids, right?" So, Han saying this deliberately. He said it was impossible with his condition and said I really wanted kids on purpose, allowing old madam to think that the C family let me down. The truth is that Dr. Sun mentioned Han's body is recovering smoothly and he'll be no different from a normal person. With that thought, Yuanwan suddenly had an inexplicable feeling in her heart. On the way back, there was silence in the back seat of the car. None of them spoke a word. Yuanwan rubbed her chin and stared at Han with a mixed expression. Actually, she was quite perplexed as well. She wasn't sure why, but she subconsciously felt that she didn't really like children. On one hand, she found them troublesome and not adorable, and on the other hand, she also enjoyed her freedom and carefree life. Her ideal life with her other half in the future should be exciting, and she wanted to travel the world. Bringing a kid around would totally spoil the fun, right? Having children was simply too much responsibility for her. However, now that she thought about it, if she gave birth to Han's child, seeing that Yuanwan was staring at him thoughtfully, Han turned to her and shot her a suspicious look. "What do you want to say?" Yuanwan's little hand played with his collar gently. "Darling, do you like kids?" Han. "No, that's really direct." If their future baby found out this was his attitude before conceiving, the baby would so heartbroken. "If we even have a baby in the future," Yuanwan tried probing once more. "What if I really like kids now and really want one, huh?" Han. "You do?" Yuanwan. "I meant if. Han thought about it, and after some time, he said reluctantly, "I can fulfill your request." Sui stole a glance at the back seat while driving. "Master, you look really reluctant. You're really not mindful of your facial expression at all, huh?" At night in Imperial City, the place was ablaze with lights. Traffic was heavy and cars were moving to and fro. At a crowded overhead bridge, a man was dressed in an Asian outfit as he sat on the ground and scratched his feet without a care for his image. There were two people next to this man who was dressed like a Taoist priest. One laid on the ground like a dead man while the other was wearing a wild outfit and was flipping through a shabby fashion magazine with great interest. He shouted occasionally when a few people walked by. The three of them didn't make a single sale the entire night, and the bowl in front of them was empty. Captain, we can't keep on hiding, right?" Spray of Flowers sighed. The devotee said helplessly, "I thought Captain already had an agreement with Bossy to get her to help?" Spray of Flowers turned to him like he was looking at a fool. "That's the last resort, okay? Little Devil is so smart," as if he would be deceived by a random person. The two of them were chatting when a resounding clang rang out. They suddenly received an entire stack of $100 bills, and it was in euros. "Oh, damn. Where did this local tyrant come from?" Chapter 890 Spray of Flowers and the devotee, who seemed like they were on the verge of dying from starvation, immediately got up. Even the iceberg man, who was playing dead, was awoken by the money. "Damn. Thank you, boss. Thank you, boss. Boss, you're a great person. This amount of money is enough to bury my husband 10 times. Boss, would you like to have your fortune read or check your feng shui? I can go to your doorstep. I guarantee my services will leave you satisfied." The people who gave them the money were two men dressed in black. One of them said, "You don't have to thank us. It wasn't us who gave the money." It wasn't you guys? Then this money is? Spray of Flowers and the devotee were confused. The two men in black moved aside at the same time and left a space in the middle. In the next second, a little figure suddenly emerged behind the men in black. When they saw that porcelain and perfect little expressionless face, Spray of Flowers and the devotee froze and became like rocks. Shush shit. Damn. How is this a local tyrant? This is the little king of hell paying us a visit. Spray of Flowers hurriedly hid behind the iceberg man's coffin. The devotee hugged his head and shrunk while the iceberg man fell backward without hesitation and shut his eyes. This little boy, who was about 4 to 5 years old, had an exquisitely beautiful little face, but the expression on his face was akin to a robot. He looked icy and rigid with only a tinge of luster in his pitch-black eyes. The little boy's gaze swept across the three men and he said, "It's been long since we last met." The moment he opened his mouth, Spray of Flowers and a certain godly rod instantly trembled. "We don't want to see him. At all. We don't want to see this little devil, Spray of Flowers. Ha ha ha, yes, it's been long. We haven't seen you for such a long time indeed. Little young master, why are you here in China all of a sudden? Devotee, China is pretty fun. Do you want us to be your tour guides?" The little boy ignored the two of them trying to change the subject and got straight to the point. "Where is my uncle?" "Dead meat. We can't trick him. It was almost impossible to trick him anyway." The devotee coughed. "This? We aren't too sure either." Spray of Flowers chimed in. "Captain often appears in one moment and disappears in the next. We really don't know where he is. Little young master can return first. We'll contact you once we find Captain. It's too dangerous for you to be here by yourself." The little boy glanced at the two of them. Dangerous? Spray of Flowers and the devotee were tearful and hugged one another. "Dangerous, my ass. Even if it's dangerous, we're the ones in the most danger." Devotee, "Little young master, don't ask anymore. We won't betray our captain." Spray of Flowers, "That's right. We will never betray our captain." Little boy, "I'll give you guys 3 seconds to consider." "What? 3 seconds?" "Captain is at Dragon Burial Hill in the suburbs." The devotee and Spray of Flowers responded in unison. The little boy turned around and walked away. "Let's go." The two men in black quickly followed him.
Yes.
Behind them, Spray of Flowers and the devotee heaved a sigh of relief. Mother, this scared the hell out of us." "Captain, sorry about this. We tried our best and struggled for 3 seconds before we betrayed him." Chapter 891 Dragon Burial Hill in the suburbs of Beijing. In the forest, on a tree covered with leaves and large branches, Nameless Nya was suspended in midair on one of the branches with his legs crossed. He chewed on a blade of grass and was pulling the leaves overhead languidly. Under the gigantic tree, a mixed-blood guy with a big build was filled with worries as he held his head and looked at the man on the tree. "Captain, how long do we have to hide here for?" Nameless Nya replied lazily, "We'll take it one day at a time, brick-moving foreigner." "But hiding isn't the solution," Nameless Nya sighed. Little sweetie, you think I like hiding in such a deserted and old place filled with unwanted tombs? Pretending that I have no signal would be too easy for that little devil to uncover, so I could only run to a place where there really isn't any signal." "Brick-moving foreigner. That isn't the point, all right? Captain, didn't you say you'd ask Bossy for help?" Nameless Nya glanced at him helplessly. "Do you really think that ancestor of mine can be fooled so easily like a 3 or 5-year-old kid? Brick-moving foreigner. Isn't that true?" Nameless Nya continued, "Anyway, this plan isn't quite reliable and it's our last resort. Otherwise, if he finds out I haven't found his real mom, he'll kill me for sure. I'll just drag this out as long as I possibly can and see if I can find his real mom. Even if I can't his real mom, his real dad would be fine too." The brick-moving foreigner shook his head. "But we've been searching for almost 4 years. Nameless Nya tossed away the grass in his mouth and sighed. Why am I cursed? Why do I have to have such a nephew? Look at that guy's nephew from the Mu family. He's so adorable and Mo. How could that dumb guy have such a cute nephew when I don't? And there's also President G's grandson, Io. He's such a sweet talker. But what about me? I only have this little devil. Little sweetie, am I right? The brick-moving foreigner was stirred up and nodded with agreement. He thought his captain made sense and was about to chime in, but the moment he looked up, he paused and his eyes widened in shock. A phrase immediately appeared in his head. Speak of the devil. The little devil suddenly appeared behind the tree not far away, and there were two bodyguards by his side. His icy gaze paused on him for a second, then it slowly turned to Nameless Nya, who was on the tree. The brick-moving foreigner was simply scared out of his wits. He quickly said, No, 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 no. Captain, I think your nephew is really cute and obedient. He's very well-behaved and cute. Anyone who sees him will like him. I've never seen any other kid as mesmerizing and likable as your nephew. At that moment, he had to pull out all the Chinese words he knew that could be used to praise a child. Sitting on the tree branch, Nameless Nya felt a sudden chill down his spine, but he didn't think much of it. He looked at his team member with shock. Damn, little sweetie, have you been in the burial hill for too long that a ghost possessed you? How could you say such things that go against your conscience? The brick-moving foreigner was extremely anxious. He hurriedly waved his hand towards Nameless Nya, hinting at him to stop talking completely. However, Nameless Nya didn't pick up the distressed cue from his own team member and continued cursing. Chapter 892. Nameless Nya. Have you met a child so unappealing? He is simply a little devil who made his way to Earth. The little devil said softly. Devil? Nameless Nya didn't realize who spoke and nodded his head. Exactly, he's a little devil. Do you know the abyss of suffering I've gone through in the Nya family all these years? Little sweetie, let me tell you. There's no use even if we found his parents. He's so savage that his parents wouldn't acknowledge him for sure. Upon hearing this, the brick-moving foreigner covered his face and held his forehead. He had completely given up on rescuing his captain. The little devil's jet-black eyes narrowed and he spoke slowly, emphasizing every word. Is that so? So this is what Uncle thinks, huh? Once that childlike voice rang out, Nameless Nya was completely stunned as he hovered on top of the tree. He finally realized that the voice of the person who spoke just now didn't seem right, and his stiffened neck creaked as he looked down from the tree. In the next second, he saw his little ancestor who was supposed to be more than 1,000 miles away, the little devil whose parents wouldn't acknowledge him. It was truly his real ancestor appearing right before him. FFFF fuck. A miserable shout reverberated at the top of the hill. Bang! Nameless Nya fell to the ground from the tree and landed harshly on a bed of leaves. Nameless Nya gritted his teeth and looked at the brick-moving foreigner. Little sweetie, why didn't you tell me? Little sweetie looked very innocent. I did, but you didn't care. Nameless Nya pounded the ground with anger and looked at that icy little face. You? How did you find me? Your stalking skills reached this level? Damn, damn, damn. Are you even human? The little devil looked condescendingly at Nameless Nya, who was on the ground. Do I need stalking skills to find you? Nameless Nya was enraged. Hey, hey, hey. Don't look down on me, Let me tell you this, up till now, there's no one who can break my record in hiding. As long as I don't want anyone to find me, nobody would be able to. Nameless Nya spoke with great confidence. Little devil, someone told me where you were, so I don't need to try to break your record. Nameless Nya was dumbfounded. What? Someone told you? Could it be? No, that's impossible. Each of our team members is very honest and reliable. They would never be swayed by money and definitely wouldn't give in to evil forces. The moment Nameless Nya said that, a phone rang. Little Devil answered the call with an expressionless face. Hello? What's the matter? The man's extremely bewitching voice came through the receiver. Hello, little young master. It's me, the devotee. It's nothing much. I just wanted to see if you found Captain. That place is quite secluded, so I better give you the details. After you reach the top of the hill, turn right, then walk 500 meters, then turn left. After that, the devotee wasn't done speaking when someone else snatched the phone away from him. Io, are you stupid? You darn godly rod, move aside. Little young master, this is Little Flower. I've already drawn Captain's position on a map and sent the image to your phone. Please take a look. Nameless Nya, brick-moving foreigner. Nameless Nya went blank for a full 10 seconds before he snatched the phone. You two bastards. How dare you betray me? Wait and see. Chapter 893, 893 Cries. Whales spray of flowers, and the devotee were startled by Nameless Nya's sudden roar of anger. Ha, ha ha, glad you found him, Captain. Why do you say that? You can't call this betraying you. We're clearly trying to help your family get back together. Captain, have a great bonding session. That's right, Captain. We won't disturb you any further. We'll hang up first. Good night, Captain. The two of them then hung up without hesitation. Nameless Nya. Good night, your father. After yelling, Nameless Nya suddenly realized the air around him had turned colder. Then he saw his little ancestor's face becoming extremely frosty. Nameless Nya knew he had completely infuriated the little devil this time. Not only did he fail at finding his parents, but he even hid from the devil on purpose. Nameless Nya, big shot. What exactly do you want, little devil? Have you found my mother? Nameless Nya. Seriously, this line brings tears to my eyes. Now I even have nightmares at night, dreaming that the demon whispers this exact sentence in my ear. Seeing that Nameless Nya didn't respond, the little devil pulled up a video. There was no gentleness in his voice at all as he said, "Uncle, I am sorry." When he heard these 3 words, "I am sorry," Nameless Nya's hairs stood on end. He stared at his phone and shouted out loud to stop him. Don't. Ancestor, please give me a chance. Let's talk this over. Ancestor, baby, the cutest and most well-behaved baby in the universe. The little devil's face didn't change at all, and it didn't look like there was any room for negotiation. Uncle, time is up and you're left with no more chances. With that said, his thumb reached for the send button. Seeing that the little devil was about to send that video of him and spray of flowers. Stop. I found your mom, Nameless Nya yelled, and his voice kept reverberating throughout the empty woods. The little fellow paused for a moment. Even his little thumb stopped in midair. Seeing that devil finally stopped what he was about to do, Nameless Nya looked like he was given a new lease on life. That scared the hell out of me. If this video was sent out, he might be skinned alive by his parents. Nobody would believe what he said. They would only believe this little devil. His status in the family was truly pathetic. The little fellow kept quiet for a long time, then he looked at Nameless Nya firmly with his clear and bright eyes. Take me to meet my mommy. Nameless Nya forced the guilt down and hurriedly said, Cough, baby. Don't be so anxious. Even if you didn't say it, I was definitely going to take you to see her, but I need a little more time to collude. I need a little more time to prepare and welcome you, right? Actually, I didn't want to tell you so I could give you a surprise. Look, now there's no surprise, little devil. I don't need it. Nameless Nya racked his brain. Then you have to at least prepare a little, right? Make yourself more presentable to see your mother. From what I know, your mom's extremely gorgeous. Of course, I don't mean it in a negative way. You're so adorable, and your mom will definitely love you regardless. But isn't it good to allow your mom to love you more? Little devil nodded. Sure. Nameless Nya was so elated that he was close to tears. The little devil was finally willing to listen to him. After speaking, the little devil looked at him. Don't tell my mother that I'll be seeing her. Huh? Why? Nameless Nya didn't get it, and was prepared to collude with famous Yi in advance. What if something went wrong? Little devil, didn't you want to make it a surprise? That isn't a bad idea. I want to give my mother a surprise. Nameless Nya. Chapter 894 Nameless Nya really wanted to kill himself. Why did I even suggest a surprise? How would that be a surprise? She'll be completely scared. All right? I really dug a grave for myself. Imperial City, Victory Grand Hotel, Nameless Nya. It's really late. Aren't you going to bed yet? Little devil. Jet lag. Nameless Nya. Oh, Nameless Nya. Just how many sets of clothing did you bring? Why do your outfits look the same? Just choose one. Hurry up and sleep once you're done choosing. I have to send a secret message to someone, okay? Little devil. I'm meeting my mom. How could I be careless about it? Nameless Nya. Thanks to his nephew, after sleeping under bridges and streets for so long, Nameless Nya finally slept in a president's suite. However, he really wasn't in the mood to enjoy it since he was sharing a room with the little devil. From the time they left Dragon Burial Hill, he had been looking for a chance to send a secret message to Yi Wanwan, but he hadn't gotten the chance to do so yet. It was too risky to play tricks right under the little devil's nose. If he found out and saw through their act, it would be over for them. In the end, Nameless Nya realized his only choice was to allow Famous Yi to freestyle and act on her own. Famous Yi, my little life is in your hands. These 2 days, Yi Wanwan had been entertaining batches after batches of relatives and higher-ups. At nighttime, she could finally rest a little and check the company's WeChat quickly. Si Han had just finished showering and he walked out of the bathroom. He laid next to Yi Wanwan and read his documents without bothering her, although his existence was enough to bother her already. Yibai? Sorry, everybody. I've been busy due to some personal matters, so I couldn't attend the script meeting. Yimu Fan. Don't worry, I'm looking after the company here. But what have you been busy with, huh? She must have gone out to play with that wild man. Yi Wanwan was chatting with Yimu Fan and Han Xianyu about work when Gong Su messaged her privately all of a sudden. Gong Su. Yi ha. You're finally back. I'm going to die holding this in. There's some juicy gossip. Extremely juicy, yeah. Yibai, what gossip? Are you coming out of the closet? Or is Megastar Xia about to get married? Gong Su. Yi, why do you talk exactly like Felix, huh? I'm not coming out of the closet, and neither is Megastar Xia about to get married. It's about Si Han. That legendary Si family's master, Si Han, died from an illness a few days ago. Did you know? Yi Wanwan looked at the private chat with Gong Su, then glanced at Si Han, who just came out of the shower with his hair still damp and wearing pajamas. Then she decided to send Gong Su an emoji that read, dragging a 40-meter-long knife. Gong Su sent an emoji covering its face with a handkerchief and acting shy. Then he replied, Gong Su. Yi, why do you want to chop someone up, eh? Yibai, hurry and delete them all. What nonsense are you talking about? Didn't the Si family already confirm that Si Han's fine? Gong Su. Oh, Yi, you've also been paying attention to this, huh? I'm not talking nonsense, eh? There's quite a hubbub about this and everyone in the upper class knows about it. If it wasn't for what happened to Si Han causing an upheaval in the Si family, this kind of news would never have spread. In summary, according to my opinion, Si Han is definitely dead. The Si family is worried it'll lead to chaos, so they quickly eradicated all the related news, then lied to the world that he's still alive. Gong Su analyzed it clearly and logically and was very confident about his own conclusion. Yi Wanwan looked at the word, dead, and really wanted to punch someone in the face. She gritted her teeth and replied with one sentence. Chapter 895. 895 CE. Han heard the gritting of Yi Wanwan's teeth and tilted his head to look at her, then his eyes inadvertently landed on her phone screen. All he saw was Yi Wanwan typing furiously. Yi Bai, I think he's living well and fine though. Gong Su, how are you so sure? Yiji, is it your prediction again? Yi Bai, because he's on my bed right now. Si Han, Gong Su. Gong Su crashed instantly. Si Han looked at the way she was gritting her teeth, and a tinge of gentleness and warmth came over his face. After about 10 seconds, Gong Su finally managed to climb back up. Gong Su, Yi, it's fine if you just joke around with me about this. We're all men and I understand. But don't ever let your boyfriend find out about it. Let me tell you, sometimes, a man's jealousy can be scarier than a woman's. Yi Wanwan tossed her phone aside and ignored Gong Su's babbling. This guy has a crow's beak. He can't say anything nice. Dead. How unlucky. Si Han stretched his arm and stroked her head softly. Doesn't matter what others say. Si Han recalled what Yi Wanwan said to Si Mingli when they were in the dark chamber. Live till your coffin rots. Yi Wanwan nodded. That's right. We have to believe in science. Dr. Sun already said that if we continue like this, your condition will improve and you'll be completely fine. Emo Xian said she was Si Han's point of balance, and if that was the case, she definitely wouldn't have any problems on her end. Aside from managing her company every day, she would be learning by Si Han's side. She would only go to school occasionally to accumulate the course credits she needed, and her life and circle of friends were very simple. Her relationship with Si Han was also more stable now, so there was definitely nothing in her life that could break this point of balance. Not long afterward, Yi Wanwan received a lesson that left a deep impression on her. You can't simply set up a flag on this guy. Si Han placed down the document in his hands. Go to bed. When Yi Wanwan heard that, she blinked. We're going to bed just like that? We're not doing anything? Si Han looked at her plainly. What do you want to do? Yi Wanwan rubbed her chin and blinked. Although you don't want to have kids, don't you like the process of making them? Isn't your condition more stable now? Did Dr. Sun say we can't do it? She was just afraid Si Han's condition would worsen. A hot flash appeared in Si Han's eyes, but it was instantly put out and the iciness was restored. After that, Si Han said expressionlessly, Dr. Sun said we can, but we need to take note of the time. How long? Yi Wanwan asked. Si Han glanced at her. The look on his face made her want to clench her teeth instinctively. Then she heard Si Han's reply, 10 minutes. Yi Wanwan expressed her sympathy as she said, let's just sleep then. With Si Han's physical strength, how could they do it within 10 minutes? The next morning, as usual, Yi Wanwan woke up early to exercise. She wasn't sure why, but what Xia said that day bothered her a little. 11, who was exercising with her, saw that Yi Wanwan wasn't herself, so he asked out of concern, Miss Wanwan, are you okay? Yi Wanwan spat out the grass in her mouth and immediately raised her head and asked, 11, let me ask you something. Are my skills useless? 11, huh? Did I hear her wrong? I'm asking you, am I very useless? Yi Wanwan thought he hadn't heard her, so she repeated her question. Chapter 896. This question made 11 stunned for a long time. After some time, 11 came to his senses and hurriedly said, Miss Wanwan, how could that be? Did someone gossip and spread rumors? Don't listen to them. They were all defeated by your hands. How could anyone be so shameless to say you're useless? If your skills are considered useless, what about us then? 11 got Feng Xianyi involved. Captain Feng, am I right? Feng Xianyi nodded sincerely and indicated his agreement. Yes, teacher is amazing. Yi Wanwan sighed. However strong someone is, there will always be people who are stronger. Yi Wanwan recalled the killers she met when she just returned from Myanmar and that white-haired man who appeared from nowhere. If it wasn't for that strange white-haired man that night, she wouldn't have been able to deal with those killers with her current abilities. When Feng Xianyi heard that, his eyes lit up and he stuttered, even though that's true, but teacher is already really good compared to ordinary people. Yi Wanwan looked at Feng Xianyi interested in hearing more. Ordinary people? Then who are the abnormal people? Feng Xianyi pondered his answer. For example, a few secret family clans. Yi Wanwan. Secret family clans? When 11 heard that, he started to explain further. For instance, martial arts families. Following the decline of the cold weapons era, it was a common belief that martial arts had declined, when in fact, there were still many ancient martial arts aristocratic families all over the world with unfathomable strength. Miss Wanwan, look at us. We're the so-called secret agents who were secretly groomed by aristocratic families. We may look very powerful, but to a real secret family clan or to an ancient martial arts aristocratic family, we're probably no different from child's play. Yi Wanwan listened attentively and asked, do these secret family clans and ancient martial arts aristocratic families really exist? 11 explained. It's said that in foreign countries, the power of such a secret family clan is so terrifying that they could outpower the nation. But this is all beyond the knowledge of ordinary folks so naturally. No one really knows, not even us. It's all hearsay. Looking into the distance, Feng Xianyi murmured, to ordinary people. The world they know really isn't the complete picture. Yi Wanwan glanced at Feng Xianyi. Well, take a group of mercenaries for example. In China, mercenaries were forbidden and such groups weren't allowed to exist, but ordinary people didn't even know what a mercenary did. There were so many mercenary groups in the world. After chatting for some time, Yi Wanwan concluded training for the day. She had an etiquette lesson with Si Han that night, so she had to conserve some energy. Oh right, I heard the Si family has to host that Mr. Mu next month. He doesn't have a simple background, does he? Yi Wanwan simply asked in passing. 11 thought for a bit and replied, that Mr. Mu seems like an average businessman on the surface, but it's rumored that he's enigmatic and impossible to predict. No one really knows what he does, and the Qin family has always been quite interested in establishing a relationship with him. I see. Yi Wanwan rubbed her chin and mumbled to herself, Mu Sui Feng. Why does this name sound somewhat familiar, huh? Yi Wanwan waved off the uneasy thought in her head, took a shower, and headed to the office. Chapter 897, 897 Late at Night. On the leather sofa, Si Mingli glanced coldly at his confidant. Have the arrangements been taken care of? Old master, don't worry. The people I dispatched are experts hired at a high price. No matter how skilled that woman is, she could never fend off so many attackers. Anyway, they're all hired fighters, so we don't have to appear in person at all. It'll be done in complete secrecy and nobody will know it's us. Si Mingli said sternly, are you sure there's nobody by that woman's side protecting her? His confidant replied firmly, I already double-checked. The house where that woman lives only has 5 servants. Aside from the bodyguard, who might have some martial arts skills, the others are all old, weak, and sickly. They're not a threat at all. Since Si Han will be going overseas soon with the Mu family, it's the best chance for us to strike. Si Ming Li's face darkened. Do a clean job and remember, I want her alive. Yes. After his confidant left, Si Qian, who was sitting on the opposite sofa, said, Father, are you sure you want to capture that woman to threaten Si Han? Si Mingli sneered coldly and said frostily, that bastard, Si Han, was so harsh this time. If we don't retaliate, he'll really think we can be easily bullied. No matter how useless Ijia is, he's still my son. I really can't stand that young guy and little slut always humiliating us. I want to see how important this woman is to Si Han and how far he'll go for her. Si Mingli looked at his second son and said confidently, Yiqian, I know you're careful, but the mercenaries I hired this time were all C grade and above. It'll be difficult for that woman to butt in. The ranking of mercenaries in descending order was S, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Anyone who could join a mercenary group was highly skilled. It was exorbitant to hire an A-ranked mercenary, and an S-ranked mercenary was akin to a phoenix feather and unicorn horn one. Even if you had money, that didn't mean you would be able to hire them. Even the lowest-ranking ones came at a high price, not to mention how C. Mingli offered a high price to hire 3 C-ranked mercenaries. Using C-ranked mercenaries to capture that woman could be considered as viewing her with high regard. With that thought, Si Qian felt at ease. As Si Han was going overseas to discuss business, Yuanwan returned to the little house of Rose. There was a fresh floral scent in the little house, and everything was silent and peaceful as usual. Yuanwan went upstairs to shower after she had her meal. The housekeeper, Old Jiang, was carefully inspecting the doors and windows. Fatty Heidi was cleaning up the kitchen while stealing some food, and long-haired Tang Bin and bearded man Song Chong were trimming the flowers and lazily patrolling the area. The Lolita maid, Jiao Jiao, was drooling as she clutched her phone and eagerly ogled a melodramatic idol drama series. In the shadows of the yard, 3 figures approached them silently. The leading mercenary said, "There's an old man, a chef, and a little maid inside the house. They all don't have any fighting abilities. Only that gardener and security guard are middle-aged men. We'll deal with those 2 first." The other mercenary next to him nodded, indicating agreement. "All right then. Joe, you go upstairs and Mac will deal with that chef. I'll go deal with those 2 men." Okay. The 3 of them were about to take action when one of the mercenaries suddenly stared at the 2 men not far away and revealed a suspicious look. Wait. Why did he feel that the long-haired gardener and bearded security guard looked so familiar, like he had seen them somewhere? What is it? The person next to him asked. The mercenary shook his head and quickly withdrew his conjecture. Nothing much. Let's act according to the plan. Chapter 898. Yuanwan went downstairs after showering. In the end, she saw little Lolita sitting on the sofa, crying her eyes out. "Jiao Jiao, what's going on?" Little Lolita sobbed. "Master, in this drama series, the female lead contracted a terminal illness and the male lead died with her in the name of love. It's too sad. Master, this male lead acts really well. It's so touching." Yuanwan peeked at little Lolita's phone and was speechless. The male lead was actually Gong Su. It was one of the most exaggerated melodramatic drama series Gong Su had acted in during his early years. His acting was very awkward, yet this girl watched till she cried. Continue watching then. Yuanwan took the disc and was about to head back upstairs when the fatty walked over attentively. Master, the supper for tonight is spicy crayfish. Please wait a moment. It'll be ready very soon." Yuanwan sniffed the alluring fragrance in the air and lowered her head to look at her waistline. After these guys realized that using a beauty trap wouldn't work, they started to change their strategy and bombarded her with delicacies instead. Her clothing size was just about to increase now. Thankfully, Yuanwan forced herself to work out every single day. Otherwise, she would definitely return to being as fat as before. At the same time, in the yard, the 3 mercenaries had divided the tasks, and after they were certain of the situation in the yard, they strode over and directly climbed over the wall. After the 2 mercenaries left, the leader pushed aside the shrubs quietly and headed in the direction of the long-haired man and bearded man. Alas, when the leader stretched his arms out to part the branches in front of him, 2 heads suddenly appeared before him, and his 2 targets were squatting there, staring straight at him. The long-haired guy got excited. "Ayaya, Changji, look, there really is a little thief here. Changji, you're amazing." Bearded man, "Of course. You guys." The mercenary was shocked, but he was well trained and calmed himself down very quickly. He still looked brave upon being noticed. "TSK, they actually think I'm a little thief? Seriously, ignorant people have no fear." The old housekeeper was patrolling the area and walked past them when he saw the mercenary who broke inside. He was momentarily stunned as well and said, "What happened? Who is he?" The long-haired man and bearded man shrugged their shoulders. "Who knows? Why don't we take him in and see what he says? Finally, in the living room, the 5 servants were all held back. Yuan was sitting on the sofa, waiting for her supper. She hadn't expected 3 men in black shirts to come to her instead. They even captured her little crayfish. Oh wait, her 5 subordinates too. Ah, master, Jiao Jiao is terrified. Don't kill me. Don't kill Jiao Jiao. Little Lolita was grabbed by the neck by a ferocious-looking mercenary, and she was crying fearfully. Meanwhile, the fatty had a plate of little crayfish in his hand with a sharp knife pointed at his back. The long-haired man, bearded man, and old housekeeper were also brought inside and were monitored by the side. All of you, shut your mouths and give me some peace. You're not allowed to make any noise. I can allow all of you live. This has nothing to do with you guys, understand? The leader of the mercenaries bellowed out sternly. The mercenary who had the fatty with him glanced at the servants who couldn't fight back at all and mockingly said, "Teske, this was such an easy mission. Yet they hired 3 of us C-rank mercenaries." When Yuan heard that, she looked at the 3 men and her expression was indescribable. 3 C-rank mercenaries? Chapter 899. 899. When the little Lolita heard that, she started sobbing and wiped her tears. "Master, Jiao Jiao is about to die. I can't be by your side anymore. When I'm no longer with you, you must eat well and sleep well, all right?" The corners of Yuan's lips twitched like she was about to collapse. Isn't this a line from that melodramatic series she was watching just now? The mercenary behind little Lolita swept his gaze across the 5 servants and thought they looked pretty familiar, but he just couldn't recall where he saw them before. Although he found them quite familiar, he didn't dwell on it and focused on completing the mission instead. The mercenary noticed little Lolita had the closest relationship with Yuan, so he grabbed her neck and looked gloomily at Yuan, who was on the sofa. He threatened, "Miss Yi, we don't want to create more problems, so I advise that you cooperate with us and follow us back. Otherwise, we might have to sacrifice a few lives for nothing." Yuan didn't bother with the bunch of actors and looked at the mercenary, aiming to fish out more information. "Who sent you guys over?" Judging by these people's skills and ranks, they were definitely a different batch from the ones who tried to knock her out on the road. The leader looked at her condescendingly. "Miss, I think you don't know what's going on here, and we have no obligation to answer your question. Si Mingli? Or Qin Ruoshi?" Yuan continued interrogating. The other party's eyes turned cold. "I already said we have no obligation to answer your question." He then looked at the time on his watch in annoyance. "Please." Yuan chuckled. "Forget it then. I just wanted to find out who had such a deep hatred against the 3 of you. What are you trying to say? Stop dragging things out." The leader was losing his patience as his palm headed for Yuan directly. However, before he could even get close to her, the old housekeeper protected Yuan and stood in front of her. "Outrageous. You're not allowed to be rude towards her." The mercenary's eyes were frosty. "You old thing, don't you understand what I said? If you don't want to die, shut the hell up and get away. And you guys, get over there and form a line. Hold your heads down and squat there. Don't get in my way." The other mercenary looked disdainfully at the servants in the room. A bodyguard who didn't dare to fight back at all, a fat chef holding a plate of crayfish like a dumbass, a maid who kept weeping, and an old man about to enter his grave. TSK, they could have simply hired a couple fighters to deal with such nobodies. Why did they have to hire mercenaries? I don't even feel like laying my hands on them. One of the mercenaries named Joe reluctantly attacked the bearded man, who seemed to be the most skilled in the group. A swish resounded. He actually missed. The little bodyguard actually managed to intercept his fist halfway, and he wasn't even sure what moves the bodyguard used. Meanwhile, a terrifying and deadly aura that could never come from a little bodyguard started to pour down in torrents. Fear crept up in Joe's heart as he acutely sensed the danger. You. The other 2 mercenaries frowned when they saw what was happening. "Joe, what are you doing?" What are you waiting for? Deal with him right away. The mercenary tried to retract his arm, but he couldn't move an inch. He was panicking so badly that cold sweat was trickling down his forehead. The bearded man held onto that mercenary's fish and turned to his partner, who had his arms crossed and was waiting for a good show. Baby, did you hear that just now? The three of them are mercenaries, eh? Chapter 900. The long-haired man chuckled. Chong, of course I heard that. The bearded man laughed weirdly. Ha ha ha, we thought he was a little thief at first. Didn't expect that we'd meet someone in the same profession. The moment the two words, same profession, were heard, following the horrifying scream, the mercenary was sent flying out and his entire body knocked into the wall heavily. Joe! The other two mercenaries turned pale with fright as they looked at that bearded man with disbelief. What did this man just say? Same profession. This little bodyguard is actually also a mercenary? Darn it. We shouldn't have let our guards down. Joe clambered up with much difficulty, but the moment he stood up, he was sent flying once again, and this went on a countless number of times. In the huge living room, there were resounding bangs, came one after the other. It was the sound of his body crashing against the wall. The leader realized the situation wasn't in their favor and decided to join the fight. In the end, he just moved his feet when he saw a head of long hair flashing by. That long-haired man was blocking his way. Courting death, huh? The leader howled furiously and waved his fist. Crash! In the next second, the long-haired man used the same technique as the bearded man and sent him flying across the room. The fatty narrowly dodged the incoming leader and immediately bellowed, "Fuck! The one with the surname Tang. What are you flinging at, huh? How dare you hurt my little crayfish? I'm going to fight it out with you." Damn it! The second mercenary, who was flung across, was in disbelief as he looked at the long-haired man who seemed so gentle and weak. Well, what's going on here? How could this guy be so terrifyingly skilled? No way. I have to think of a solution. The leader's eyes lit up, then he charged towards the fat chef in front of him. In the end, the moment he moved, the fat chef before him actually disappeared without a trace like a spirit. After some time, a cold and eerie voice rang out from behind him. Looking for me? The leader was scared out of his wits. He instinctively ran towards the exit, but when he reached the door, a kick sent him flying. The person who kicked him was the one he called Old Thing, the old housekeeper. Who exactly are these people? How could two C-rank mercenaries be left unable to retaliate at all? The mercenary who was grabbing the little Lolita noticed that the situation was unfavorable and hurriedly let the little Lolita go and stepped forward to help. He pushed her away harshly and little Lolita's body swung violently. The little pink bunny-shaped necklace around her neck was yanked off and the crystal broke into pieces instantly. My little bunny. Master gave it to me. Little Lolita stood there in a daze and stared at the necklace on the floor. The innocence and cuteness gradually dissipated from her eyes and turned into a creepy, cold-blooded, murderous stare. The fatty at the opposite side was so cold that he sneezed. Ayaya, this is really bad. The bearded man gulped. He even stopped torturing the man. The mercenary was about to leave, but little Lolita, who was standing in front of him, grabbed him. After that, he heard a sweet-sounding voice. Little Gigi, where are you going? We're not done acting in this scene. Get lost? The mercenary didn't think much of it and was about to toss her aside, but he realized the girl's hand was unmoving. You killed my bunny, so you shall use your life to repay me then. In the next second, there was a loud slam. Her petite figure actually performed a shoulder throw on that tall and muscular man, and he crashed to the ground harshly. Chapter 901. Swish, swish, swish. Following that, there were over 10 knives shooting towards him like torrential rain. piercing through his flesh and directly pinning him against the floor. Each flying blade was close to cutting his main arteries. What do you think? Is this way of dying really cute? Huh? Little Lolita narrowed her eyes and looked at him condescendingly. Ah! The mercenary was stupefied and felt an agonizing pain on every inch of his body. His entire body was pinned to the floor as he wailed miserably. Blood gushed out from over 10 gashes on his body. The air was filled with the stench of blood. Upon seeing the bloody, tragic outcome of their partner, the other two mercenaries were dumbstruck. The fatty gulped. "Jiao Jiao, don't make such a big scene. The supper I painstakingly prepared for master hasn't been eaten yet." The old housekeeper looked at the floor that had the knives piercing it and furrowed his brows. "Didn't we agree not to damage the furniture? He spoiled my little bunny. It was given to me by master." Little Lolita stomped her feet with frustration. Who exactly sent these 3 people? Why did they push us into the fire pit like that?" The 5 of them crowded around the 3 badly bruised mercenaries like they were looking at animals. And the 3 mercenaries were like little chicks. They were trembling and were completely stunned. Where did these people come from? That man was in so much pain that his body was twitching, but since he was pinned to the floor, he didn't dare to move at all and could only moan nonstop. Presently, he finally remembered where he had seen these people before. You guys are..." The terror in the mercenary's eyes intensified as he scanned these 5 people. They might seem like a messy group, like an old, weak, and sickly group of servants, but thinking about it, everything actually all added up. "You guys are the people from Kirin Mercenary Army," the mercenary said with his last breath. The faces of the other 2 mercenaries changed abruptly. How could that be? Kirin Mercenary Army would never accept such a lowly mission of protecting a master. The bearded man crossed his arms. "Tisk, making a big fuss out of nothing. Who cares about the Kirin Mercenary Army? If they knew the organization we belong to now, that would scare them out of their wits." "Master, how should we deal with these people?" the fatty asked. "Wait, how did they address this woman?" Master. Mercenaries belonged to a mercenary army and only had a client and customer relationship with the bosses they were assigned to. They would never call their employer their master. This woman actually managed to subdue the top 5 experts from the Kirin Mercenary Army. How's this possible? The 3 mercenaries saw the fear in each other's eyes at the same time. Fire pit. How is this a fire pit? This is simply a living hell. Master, give them to Jiao Jiao, all right?" Little Lolita spoke charmingly. Yuan glimpsed at the perfect plate of little crayfish in the fatty's hands. Not a single droplet of soup had spilled. She casually waved and said, "Go ahead." No. The 3 mercenaries were terror-stricken. It seemed like the long-haired man and bearded man were the most skilled in martial arts among the 5 of them. They always moved together. But in fact, the most terrifying one was that little girl, who didn't seem like she was lethal at all. If anybody landed in her hands, that would be worse than death. Furthermore, they had just infuriated her. "We're just here for the money. We were hired by someone. We don't know anything. The employer's identity must be kept secret, and you are all our seniors. You should know how it works too. We're not lying. Please spare us, senior. Spare us, senior. We have eyes, but failed to recognize Mountain Tai." 1. After the 3 people were dragged away by little Lolita, the remaining few started to clean up the mess. Everything was as usual in the little house of Rose, like nothing had happened. Chapter 902. I'm useless. I messed up. What did you say? Upon hearing his confidant's report, Si Mingli snapped, "Didn't you say nothing would go wrong? There are only 5 servants there, and you sent 3 C-rank mercenaries over. How could you mess up?" His confidant trembled as he spoke. There were only 5 servants in that little house indeed. But those 5 people were all experts, and they're probably mercenaries as well, with a higher rank than those 3 people. Useless thing. What were you doing before? You're only telling me now that those 5 people are mercenaries? Si Mingli was furious. His confidant actually didn't manage to find out such an important piece of information, and not only did he fail in completing this task, but he also alerted the enemy. If others found out about it, Si Mingli would be so embarrassed. Si Yiqian's face darkened. We were too careless this time. Seems like we can't underestimate the strength of those 5 mercenaries. With the number of people we can mobilize at the moment, I'm afraid we're no match for that woman. Si Mingli raged. Are we just going to let this go? Si Yiqian thought about it and said, Of course not. Since we already did it, how could we just give up halfway? Father, since we already shed all pretense of cordiality, there's nothing we need to worry about anymore. Why don't you get Mr. Eric to help? See if he can transfer some people over. I think Eric would be very willing to help. Si Mingli's eyes lit up. You're right. There's nothing to hide now. If Mr. Eric agrees, nothing would go wrong for sure. After all, with our current abilities, we can only hire C-rank mercenaries and under. Mercenaries who were above C-rank couldn't be hired with just money. They also had very stringent qualification checks on the employer. Darn woman, does she think this is all we got? She thought just a few mercenaries would be enough to protect her? She's simply looking at the sky from the bottom of the well. A1. Victory Grand Hotel. Damn. My dog eyes. Nameless Nya looked at the little fellow in front of the mirror and was almost mesmerized by his appearance. He's simply too adorable. He had to admit that although this little ancestor of his had quite a devilish attitude, his beautiful and delicate little face were deceptive. He really wanted to reach out and rub that little face. Nameless Nya went quiet for a long time and meditated before he finally calmed himself down and wouldn't do anything to court his death. Little devil. Uncle. Nameless Nya. What is it? Nameless Nya replied in an instant, and even spoke in a much gentler tone without realizing it at all. This is truly a grievance of the appearance-obsessed party. Little devil. You may leave after you take me there. Nameless Nya didn't understand. Why? Little devil. With your IQ, if you say something wrong, it'll affect Mommy's first impression of me. In other words, don't drag me down. Uncle Nya, who was criticized for dragging his nephew down. Adorable. My ass. I knew this nephew could never be so cute. Little devil paused before he continued. Are you sure that the girl I saw in the video is my mother? That's right. That's her. What's the matter? Nameless Nya asked cautiously. Could it be that the little devil could tell? Or maybe he wasn't satisfied and didn't like her? Little devil replied indifferently. Nothing, let's go. Nameless Nya thought it might have been his imagination, but after hearing his confirmation, the little devil's little icy face seemed to have turned much gentler. Chapter 903, 903 Late at night. At a villa in the suburbs. Si Mingli's face was extremely gloomy. He looked at Si Yiqian sitting next to him and said, Some mercenaries have accepted the mission already. Upon hearing that, Si Yiqian laughed. Father, you don't have to be so angry about the incident before. It was just an accident. HNG. Si Mingli scoffed coldly, then turned to his confidant next to him and said, Check things carefully this time. All right? Don't make the same mistake like before. You didn't even know that that woman had mercenaries by her side. I checked very carefully. Beads of cold sweat formed on his confidant's forehead, and he said carefully, The people under Yuan were brought back by her from overseas. But whether she hired them as security guards or for some other reason, we don't quite understand for now. Si Mingli turned to Si Yiqian immediately and said, What do you think? Do those mercenaries have anything to do with in preparation? Kagwan, please wait a moment. After the updates, you need to refresh the page to get the latest updates. Chapter 904 At the dining table. Tanglong looked at Si Mingli and Si Yiqian and said politely, As for the mission this time, we somewhat have an understanding of the situation. Brother Tanglong, You're talking about the mercenaries protecting that woman? Si Yiqian asked.
Yes.
Tang Long nodded, then took out a document, put on gold-rimmed glasses, and opened the document. It's like this. The target has 5 people guarding her in total, and they're all professionally trained. The leader is called Old Demon Jiang, and there are 4 core members, 3 males and a female. Song Chong, Tang Bin, Heidi, and Jiao Jiao. Among them, Jiao Jiao is the most skilled and has killed the highest number of people. She's also very vicious and ruthless, has the blood of over 100 lives on her hands, and is very cruel. Upon hearing that, Si Mingli and Si Yiqian examined Jiao Jiao's description in the document, then turned to the gentle and refined Tang Long. Even this guy says the other party is cruel. He became an A-rank mercenary at such a young age, and his value exceeded being just the captain of the Noise of Dragons mercenary group. His reputation was great, and there was also the golden reputation of the Noise of Dragons mercenary group. One should never assume Tang Long's abilities based on his refined and well-mannered behavior at the moment. He was actually quite ruthless. However, Si Mingli had only heard about Tang Long secondhand. He wasn't sure whether Tang Long's past achievements were just hearsay or the truth. These people belonged to the Kirin mercenary army, and while they were in that army, they accepted 7 S-rank missions and succeeded in 2 of them. So, they were only considered A-rank mercenaries. Previously, when they were transporting some goods, they actually betrayed the employer. It could be said that they are notoriously vicious and diabolical. This mission is really not an easy task. Then, Si Mingli was somewhat doubtful and wasn't sure what Tang Long wanted to say. Mr. Si, I need an increase of 30% in my pay. If Mr. Si is agreeable, I will carry out this mission this very instant. But if Mr. Si is not agreeable, we'll just treat it like we've made some acquaintances today. Tang Long closed the document and smiled. Upon hearing what Tang Long said, Si Mingli frowned. They had already agreed on the fee earlier. Yet this Tang Long didn't care about the rules at all and actually asked for a raise. Haha, sure, brother Tang Long, you're straightforward indeed. All right, as long as you complete the mission, I'll increase your pay by 30%. Although Si Mingli wasn't very pleased about this, he didn't have a choice. Good. Since Mr. Si is agreeable, please sign this contract. Tang Long immediately took out a contract. Looking at the contract that was already prepared for him, the corners of Si Mingli's lips twitched. Seems like Tang Long already had me wrapped around his fingers. He even prepared the contract beforehand. Si Mingli's face darkened slightly, then he stood up and signed the contract. Mr. Si, really sorry about that. I emphasize great importance in having a contract. After all, verbal confirmation is not as dependable compared to a signed contract. Tang Long tucked away the contract and chuckled gently. A contract like this obviously didn't have any legal significance, but the mercenary trade union agreed that if either party with a signed contract failed to perform his or her contractual duties, the mercenary trade union would come forward to resolve it.
Farewell.
At that moment, Tang Long straightened his top and stood up to leave with his men. Brother Tang Long, I want her alive. Si Mingli reminded him. All right, Mr. Si, I understand. Tang Long led the way. He didn't even turn around and immediately left the restaurant. Little House of Rose, Master, I invented a new dish today. Try this phoenix tail fire prawn. I'm not bragging, but ordinary people would never get to eat this. The fatty held up a pot of red, juicy prawns and walked over to Yi Wanwan. Then he removed his apron and placed the prawns on the dining table. Chapter 905. 905 Yi Wanwan looked at the pan-fried prawns right in front of her and rubbed her rumbling tummy. Her eyes were filled with desire. However, her head told her she couldn't continue eating like this. These past 2 days, she had eaten till she almost burst. But Yi Wanwan leaned in closer to the juicy prawns which looked and smelled so good. She took a little whiff. They smell heavenly. Jiao Jiao, come over and eat. Yi Wanwan stared at the little Lolita who was obsessed with her drama series and called out to her reluctantly. Master, I'm not eating that. I'll get fat. Jiao Jiao looked pitifully at Yi Wanwan. At that moment, The old housekeeper walked inside and said, "Master, I saw a child today, and he was pacing in our yard. I'm not sure where he came from." A child? Probably from a family living nearby. Yuanwan didn't really mind. Before the old housekeeper could speak, two bangs resounded outside. "They're gunshots." The old housekeeper immediately looked out the door. Little Lolita and Fatty stood up instantly and returned to their own rooms. A moment later, they returned to the hall. "What's going on?" The long-haired man and bearded man rushed to the hall when they heard the gunshots. "I'm afraid they're here for us," little Lolita said. "Probably the same group of people. Song Chong, Tang Bin, both of you protect Master while the three of us go out and take a look," the old housekeeper ordered. "Okay." The bearded man nodded. "Don't worry, with me guarding her here, I'll blast their brains out if he or she dares to come near." "Changji, you're amazing, you're so cool." The long-haired man looked at the bearded man and his eyes were filled with admiration. "That goes without saying. Look at what kind of man Changji is," the bearded man sneered. While they were speaking, the fatty, old Ghost-Jiang and little Lolita charged outside instantly. Almost a second later, there were sounds of fighting coming from outside followed by the sound of a chase. "HNG, what a bunch of morons. They actually came all the way here to court death," the bearded man said. "With Changji around, those people are simply asking for it," the long-haired man said with adoration. Yuanwan furrowed her brows. "I'm afraid it's not that simple. Those mercenaries who showed up before were obviously targeting her and didn't have much to do with little Lolita, old Ghost-Jiang, and the others." Initially, Yuanwan wanted to tell Si Han about that incident, but Si Han was still overseas at the moment, and she was afraid he would return immediately after finding out about it. She didn't want to interfere with his business, so she didn't end up telling him. "May I know if anyone is home?" Suddenly, there was a light knock on the door and a young man's voice. "Master," the bearded man looked at Yuanwan. "Go open the door." Yuanwan pondered for a moment before she answered. "All right." The bearded man walked over immediately and opened the door. A couple of men dressed in black were standing there, and the man leading them was about 27 or 28 years old. Yet his hair was grayed and he was wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. He looked gentle and refined. "You guys stay outside," Tang Long said to the mercenaries with him. Then he entered the hall by himself. "Who are you?" the long-haired man asked after seeing that Tang Long entered the hall unaccompanied. He was on guard. Upon hearing that, Tang Long revealed a harmless smile and said gently, "Hello, everyone. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Tang Long, the captain of Noise of Dragons mercenary group." Chapter 906 Noise of Dragons mercenary group. Tang Long. Upon hearing Tang Long's self-introduction, the bearded man and long-haired man were stunned. The Noise of Dragons mercenary group wasn't scary, but the captain of this group, Tang Long, was. The long-haired man and bearded man weren't dumb. They already knew what was going to happen the moment Tang Long appeared. "I'll kill you." In a split second, the bearded man stretched his arm towards Tang Long. As long as he subdued Tang Long, nothing would happen. However, before the bearded man could get any closer, Tang Long leaned to the side slightly and lifted his right leg. Swish! In the hall, a sound broke the silence. All they saw was Tang Long with two hands in his pockets while his right leg swept outwards. His body moved in a flash and his movements were swift. The bearded man didn't even know what happened and he was in disbelief as he was sent flying across the hall by an unbelievably strong force. "How dare you hit my Changji?" Watching this situation, the long-haired man bellowed and raised his palm, about to attack Tang Long. "Sorry, I don't like to be rough, so I suggest you better stop." Tang Long had his arms behind his back, and he stood in the same spot as his body moved slightly. The long-haired man attacked him over 10 times, but Tang Long managed to dodge every single one of them easily. He didn't even manage to touch a strand of hair on Tang Long's head. "You're courting death." The long-haired man was furious. "This Tang Long is trying to embarrass me, huh?" Seeing as the long-haired man was becoming more aggressive, Tang Long sighed softly. After that, he performed a move they had never seen before. His right elbow knocked harshly against the long-haired man's face. In the next second, the exact same thing happened to the long-haired man. He flew across and landed far away. You're dead meat. Tang Long, you can't be here. You've offended the master. While the bearded man was still jabbering on, Tang Long waved him off with annoyance and got his men to drag them out. Sorry, I've dirtied your room. Tang Long wiped the bloodstains on his hand, then bowed at Yuan Wan as an apology. Who sent you guys? Yuan Wan looked at Tang Long and asked coldly. Miss Yi, this is a secret mission. According to our code of conduct, we need to keep the identity of our employer confidential. So, we are unable to tell Miss Yi. I hope Miss Yi doesn't mind, Tang Long said in a well-mannered way. How much did your employer pay you? I'll double it if you get rid of him for me, Yuan Wan said. This person's movements were so quick that even Yuan Wan couldn't see them clearly. He must have been an expert among experts. Yuan Wan knew the extent of her abilities and knew there was no way she could be a match for this Tang Long. However, mercenaries only accepted assignments for money, and she could offer much more. Haha, Miss Yi, that's really very tempting. However, that does violate the rules of our profession. Tang Long laughed. I'll triple it, Yuan Wan said. Miss Yi, very sorry, but this isn't about the money. Tang Long shook his head. For times more. Yuan Wan put out 4 fingers. Unfortunately, I've already signed a contract. Otherwise, I might really make a deal with Miss Yi. Tang Long said helplessly if he was a turncoat, the mercenary trade union would never tolerate it. 5 times, this is the highest I'll go. Yuan Wan offered. Since that's the case, if Miss Yi survives this round, I would be more than willing to work with you in the future. But this time, I can't do anything about it, Tang Long said. Chapter 907. 907. Yuan Wan knew in her heart that Tang Long, as a mercenary, wasn't picking on her personally. He accepted a mission from someone and signed a contract with the mercenary trade union. So Tang Long couldn't agree even if she offered him a payment that was 5 or even 10 times more. Is there really no other way? Yuan Wan looked at Tang Long as she asked. Upon hearing what Yuan Wan said, Tang Long shook his head and said softly, Miss Yi, I'm really sorry about that. I am a mercenary and can only act according to my employer's wishes. However, Miss Yi, you don't have to worry about a thing. Master wants you alive, so I won't do anything to you. What happened to those 3 friends of mine? Yuan Wan asked. She couldn't help but worry about Zhao Jiao and Old Zhang's safety. With just one look, she knew Tang Long wasn't a simple person. Miss Yi, those 3 mercenaries have already been taken away by my men. Miss Yi, don't count on them to come back and rescue you. Even if they did, we would just have to recapture a few more people. Tang Long laughed. Upon hearing what Tang Long said, Yuan Wan lost hope. She didn't want little Lolita, old Ghost Jiang, and the others to be in trouble for her sake. Could you release those 2 people? Yuan Wan tried to negotiate. Tang Long shook his head. Miss Yi, sorry about that. I can't do that. At that moment, Yuan Wan looked at her phone subconsciously. It was ringing, and the ringtone was somewhat different. She realized it was the ringtone she specifically set for Nameless Nya, Spray of Flowers, and the others. If she could take this call and tell them about the situation, when it came down to it, whether it was the brick-moving lover or the fortune teller, any one of them could make Tang Long leave. Unfortunately, Yuan Wan didn't have any chances of taking the call. Miss Yi, you can decide whether you want to leave with me or make me force you, of course. I hope Miss Yi will cooperate. I don't like to get my hands dirty either. Tang Long smiled at Yuan Wan. After she heard that, Yuan Wan replied, Sure, I'll leave with you today. Just looking at how Song Chong and Tang Bin were defeated almost immediately, it wasn't hard to figure out that Tang Long was a super expert. They both used all their strength to fight him alone, yet they didn't even have a chance to retaliate. Furthermore, from what Yuan Wan saw, Tang Long wasn't serious at all when he was fighting with the 2 of them. so his true abilities were probably at least 10 times better than the previous mercenaries. All right, thank you for cooperating, Miss Yi. Tang Long thanked Yuan, bowed slightly and stretched his arms out, showing her the way. Yuan walked out the door under Tang Long's supervision. Outside the hall, Tang Bin and Song Chong were already captured and in the car. Chapter 908. Seeing that the mercenary was silent, the little boy's gaze swept over the tattoo of a symbol on the side of his neck, and he mumbled to himself, "Noise of Dragons Mercenary Group." When the mercenary heard that, he was taken aback. How could a 4- or 5-year-old recognize Noise of Dragons Mercenary Group symbol? I must have heard this little boy wrong. According to their investigation, there were no children in the house. So how did this child coincidentally appear there? Whatever it was better to be safe than sorry. They should probably take him with them first. The mercenary immediately grabbed the little boy and threw him into the car. He wasn't sure if the little boy was frightened or traumatized, but the boy didn't make a sound and simply allowed the mercenary to put him in the car. At a spot hidden away, 2 figures suddenly got up and were about to take action. However, they were forced to retreat when they saw the little boy's eyes and went back into hiding once again. "Captain, I just saw a little boy. He appeared at the garden out of nowhere." At first, the mercenary wanted to ask Tang Long for instructions, but he had already entered the frontmost car, and while he was asking, Tang Long sped off, making him swallow a mouthful of dust. At the moment, Yuan was stunned as she looked at the boy who was suddenly thrown into the car. Weren't these people here to capture me? Why did they capture a child as well? I've never heard of mercenaries in the kidnapping and extortion business. Furthermore, Tang Long doesn't look like the sort who likes doing this kind of business. Then, what's with this little boy? Yuan was deep in thought. Very quickly, all her attention was on this little guy. The little boy was wearing a stunning sapphire blue little suit with a pink bow tie. His posture was upright and he had a pair of unbelievably beautiful phoenix eyes. The outer corners of his eyes were slightly inclined and they carried a tinge of arrogance and loftiness. Coupled with a sharp nose and thin lips, he was simply alluring and adorable. Whether it was his temperament or attitude, this child was different from ordinary children. He had a noble air around him that only a well-off family could foster. Damn, this little boy will destroy the country and cause suffering when he grows up for sure. What sort of heaven-defying combination of genes produced a little child like him? Wait a minute. Yuan looked at the boy a bit longer and was suddenly stunned. Aside from his eye-catching clothes today, this child seemed really familiar, like she had seen him somewhere before. But what made Yuan surprised was how calm and composed he was after being thrown into the car. While Yuan sized the child up, the little guy was also looking at her. Yuan obviously noticed the little child's gaze on her. Which family do you belong to? Why did you get captured too? The little boy's eyes lit up slightly. You don't know me? Yuan blinked. Do we know each other? But the more I look at him, the more it seems like I really do know him. The little boy looked at her, and his gaze turned slightly colder. Which family do you think I belong to? This question is really strange, isn't it? Yuan was totally confused. But wow, too cute. He's even cuter with this icy look. My claws. Why do they feel like they're losing control? Hang in there. Seeing as Yuan was silent, the little boy's eyes turned gloomy. After some time, Yuan finally calmed down. She rubbed her chin, looked at the adorable little boy and smiled. Oh, although I don't know whose family you belong to, I really wish you belonged to mine. Chapter 909. What Yuan said was heartfelt. It was pretty weird. This little boy, who was sitting about 4 to 5 feet away from her, gave her a feeling of familiarity. After hearing her answer, the little boy was taken aback. After some time, he pursed his thin lips. Is that so? Yuan sighed. But too bad. Little boy, too bad what? Yuan continued. Too bad. How could I possibly have such an adorable kid? Who are your parents exactly? They're really great at making kids, huh? Little boy, that might not be the case. Yuanwan was talking to the little boy when one of the mercenaries in front suddenly yelled at the man in the passenger seat. What the hell are you doing? Why did you bring a kid on board? The mercenary who captured the child replied, This kid showed up at the garden all of a sudden. It was a little weird, but I thought he might be somehow related to this woman. To prevent any issues from arising, we can just take him with us first. The mercenary who shouted furrowed his brows but didn't argue in the end. While they were talking, the car was slowly moving towards the suburbs. After about half an hour, the car stopped and Yuanwan and the little boy were brought into a dungeon. The little boy and Yuanwan were locked up together. Tang Bin and Song Chong were also tied up to a metal pillar by the side. Yuanwan scanned the dungeon, and it was quite similar to the Sea families. It was used for torture and interrogation. Where's the captain? One of the mercenaries asked. Captain left to meet with the employer and collect our payment. This mission is close to completion, so why would Captain stay here? Someone replied. At the moment, the long-haired man and bearded man looked at Yuanwan, who was locked up. They both looked at one another as a tinge of suspicion appeared in their eyes. How could that be? The bearded man frowned. Their master was the Rose of Death, right? How could the Rose of Death be captured? Initially, they thought Tang Long was in deep trouble. Their master would be fuming mad for sure, and she would rescue them. However, even their master herself was captured now. Could it be that this woman wasn't the Rose of Death at all? Weren't they doomed then? And they thought they found themselves an amazing backer. Had they been cheated? What exactly was going on here? How exactly are we going to deal with this child? A mercenary looked at the little boy locked up in the cell and was at his wit's end. After some time, the mercenary gave Tang Long a call to ask for instructions. At first, Tang Long wanted to let the little devil go, but Si Mingli refused. If the boy was at the garden of the little house, he must be related to Yi Wanwan somehow. Both parties started a video call as per Si Mingli's request. Seeing as Yi Wanwan was locked up in the cell, Si Mingli smiled coldly. This woman was finally in his hands. Si Mingli? Yuanwan looked at the video call, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. When those C-rank mercenaries showed up before, she did guess Si Mingli was involved, but this time, how did Si Mingli manage to hire these people with these abilities? Could it be that there was something she didn't know in her previous life, the identity of Si Mingli's backer? She didn't expect to gain such an important piece of information this time. Haha, Yuanwan, Miss Yi, our future mistress of the Sea household. We meet again, Si Mingli said mockingly. Fourth uncle, I hope all has been fine since we last met. Yi Wanwan smiled faintly. Chapter 9:10. Upon seeing how Yi Wanwan was so indifferent, Si Mingli scoffed. This woman is still laughing at this point. Huh? Fourth uncle, you put so much effort and thought into capturing me. This is the third time you sent out mercenaries to look for me, right? Yi Wanwan said. Before, it was the C-rank mercenaries. She didn't even have to think to know it was Si Mingli's doing. And the first time, she was only able to escape thanks to help from that white-haired man. The third time? When he heard what Yuanwan said, Si Mingli was stunned. Including the C-rank mercenaries he hired last time, that was only twice. When was the third time? I'm afraid I've only tried to capture you twice. You probably offended someone else and had another encounter. That wasn't my doing. Si Mingli sneered. Yuanwan furrowed her brows. As expected, what she said just now was merely to test Si Mingli. Since she was already in his hands, he had no reason to lie. Her guess was right. When she was saved by the white-haired man before, Si Mingli definitely wasn't involved. Now that she eliminated one suspect, who could the mastermind be? Oh, right. How are we going to deal with this child who appeared near the little house of Rose? Just kill the child? Si Mingli replied without hesitation. Kill him? Upon hearing that, the few mercenaries were stunned. They had never killed a child before, and the boy was merely 4 to 5 years old. At that moment, Si Qian strode over slowly to the camera and looked at the little boy in the cell. He laughed. Everyone knows we can't have such incidents leaking out. It's best if we just deal with it once and for all. If anything goes wrong and the mission fails, none of you will get a single cent. All right then. The mercenaries nodded, took out a dagger on the spot, and unlocked the cell. Stop. Your target is me. It has nothing to do with this kid, and I don't know him at all. You guys can confirm this fact yourselves. Yi Wanwan's eyes turned dark immediately as she secretly tried to escape from the rope around her wrists. She only just found out from what those people said that they hadn't captured this child intentionally. It was only because he was in the vicinity that they took him. However, before that child could protest, he was already captured. The little boy's face was expressionless as he looked plainly at Si Qian in the video call and said, reckless and blind. When Si Qian heard those 3 words, he was taken aback. Little guy, what did you say? All my life, this is the very first time I've met someone declaring so brazenly that he wants to kill me, the little boy said, making sure every word was heard. When they heard that, Tang Bin and Song Chong, who were both wondering whether their backer was about to collapse, had strange looks on their faces. Did this kid watch too many shows? Does he think this is a game? Si Qian laughed and shook his head. This was his first time meeting such an interesting kid. Do it, Si Qian ordered. He couldn't be bothered to continue talking nonsense with this kid. However, at the moment, a strange, icy smirk appeared on the little boy's face. Before you guys do anything, my last name is Nya. Nya? Having heard what the little boy said, everyone was puzzled. What does he mean by that? Yi Wanwan, who was secretly trying to break free from the rope, showed a subtle change in her expression. Nya. Chapter 911. 911. The mercenaries looked at one another, confused. So what if his surname is Nya? Do you guys have any humanity? How could you kill a child? You guys have no conscience, huh? The long-haired man shouted coldly at the mercenaries. At the moment, although the few mercenaries didn't reply, they felt quite conflicted that they had to lay hands on a 4 to 5-year-old, whether it was part of their mission or not. Then one of the mercenaries turned to see Mingli in the video and said, Mr. C, let us speak to our captain first. What did you say? Si Mingli was furious. He was the one who issued the mission, so he had the authority to get these mercenaries to act according to his wishes. I think we should seek Captain Tang Long's advice, the mercenary repeated. Tang Long just left to answer a call. He isn't back yet. Si Mingli was irritated. Then, we'll wait till Captain Tang Long comes back. The mercenaries tried to contact Tang Long, but his line was busy. Forget it, father. They've completed their task. We'll just get our own people to settle this, said Si Qian, who was next to Si Mingli. When he heard that, Si Mingli pondered for a moment and nodded in agreement in the end. Anyway, Yi Wanwan was already in his hands. He could do whatever he wanted and wouldn't need these mercenaries to interfere. Si Mingli immediately made a phone call, and within a split second, Si Mingli's confidant brought a couple of men in black shirts and rushed into the dungeon. Seeing this, the mercenaries didn't have much to say. Their mission was to capture the target and bring her back and to kill if she resisted. They had now already brought her back, so from a certain perspective, the mission was completed. The confidant looked at Si Mingli in the video call and said, Master, please advise. Kill the others aside from Yi Wanwan. The person speaking was Si Qian. Even the child? The confidant looked at the little devil not far off. Every single one except for Yi Wanwan. Si Mingli said. Noted. Don't worry about it, master. The corners of the confidant's lips curled upwards. His gaze swept past everyone and a sinister smile appeared on his face. Just a few of you nobodies. Try touching us if you dare. The bearded man scoffed. The long-haired man chimed in. Master will never let you guys off if you touch us. Haha, I think all of you are asking for it. Si Mingli's confidant laughed. Master? Are you referring to this woman? Huh? The bearded man and long-haired man were enraged when they heard that because they still didn't understand what their master was thinking at this point. Could it be that the Rose of Death's capabilities were limited? It took so long for them to finally find a baccarat. Ha ha ha. Let me tell you the truth. The security in this place is 3 times that of the C family's dark chambers. Even a fly can forget about leaving, so there's no hurry. Let's take it slow. It'll be your turn very soon. You guys should treasure this time and think about your last words. After speaking, the confidant arrogantly turned to his men. Do it. Deal with this little one first. I'll fuck your father. Seeing that these psychopaths wouldn't even let a little child go, the bearded man bellowed in anger, and a hint of fear appeared in both their eyes. After they dealt with this child, it would be their turn. Was it really the end of the road for them both? Not only was the security extremely tight there, but the mercenaries present were also top experts, and it would be difficult to escape even if they had wings. Right at that exact moment, Tang Long with the gold-rimmed glasses was back. The hired thug, who was about to murder the little boy, flew across the room like a kite with a broken string, although he was about 1.9 meters tall and muscular. What happened? Si Mingli and Si Yiqian froze. Their faces nearly touched the camera lens. All they saw was that the entire door behind the cell was knocked down from the outside, and 2 lean men in black shirts appeared before everyone. The 2 men directly walked towards the little boy, then lowered their heads respectfully.
Young master.
Young master? Si Mingli's confidant, the hired thug, and Si Mingli and Si Qian, who were on the video call, were all completely stunned. Nobody expected that someone would be able to barge in like that. Chapter 913. 913. Si Mingli, Si Qian, the hired thug, and all the mercenaries at the scene didn't expect that someone would actually barge in. Even Yi Wanwan was dumbstruck. As she listened to how those 2 men in black shirts were greeting the little boy respectfully as their young master, she was even more surprised. What are all of you standing there for? Seize them! Si Mingli yelled. Damn it! How was it possible for them to barge in? He looked at the intruders for a long time and realized that there were only 2 people. They probably took advantage of a loophole in the guards' defense. Is this how my guards do their jobs? Huh? They only know how to enjoy free meals. Tang Long looked at those 2 people treating the little boy with great respect and ordered sternly, members of Noise of Dragons mercenary group, listen up. None of you are allowed to attack. When the mercenaries, who were about to attack, heard their captain's orders, they immediately stopped what they were doing. Mr. Tang, what do you mean by this? Si Yiqian said in an unfriendly tone. Tang Long responded casually, nothing much. In order to ensure the safety of our mercenaries, we will try our best to complete the mission, but at the same time, we won't make sacrifices for nothing. Furthermore, this matter is no longer within the scope of our mission. Not within the scope? I'll issue this task right now then. Kill all these people right now, and I'll pay twice the agreed price for this mission. Upon hearing what Si Qian said, the mercenaries' eyes lit up instantly, but they didn't dare to respond due to Tang Long's orders. Si Qian continued, triple. The moment he said that, one of the mercenaries, who was wearing a uniform that was a darker color than the rest, stepped forward. I'll accept this mission. The other mercenaries were stunned. Vice Captain, Captain said we're not allowed to attack. Tang Long's face darkened. Guadi, you're not allowed to take it. The vice captain of the Noise of Dragons sneered and looked towards Tang Long on the video call. Captain Tang, you're no doubt the captain of Noise of Dragons, but I am the vice captain, and as the vice captain, I have the authority to choose my own missions. You have no power to interfere. Tang Long narrowed his eyes. If you insist on taking this mission, you'll be responsible for the consequences. Guadi said scornfully, consequences? What kind of consequences would there be for dealing with a kid and 2 servants? Captain, are you trying to interfere with my freedom? Tang Long smiled faintly and suddenly recovered his elegant and calm expression. That's right. It is indeed your choice to take on any missions. Do as you please, then. As the captain, it was his responsibility to remind him, and he had already done that. Guadi scoffed, then glanced at the hired thug, who was sent flying to the wall. What a useless bum. In the corner, the little boy looked coldly at a guy in a black shirt. The man got the hint and nodded slightly. Then the lean man placed both arms behind his back and slowly made his way towards Guadi slowly. Would you like to kill yourself, or do you want me to do it? Do you know who you're talking to? I think you're the one who's courting death. Guadi became enraged instantly and drew a long, shiny sword somewhere from his body. Upon seeing this, Si Mingli and Si Qian chuckled. This vice-captain of the Noise of Dragons was very skilled and was second only to Tang Long. Yi Wanwan's heart was almost at her throat. These mercenaries were top-notch experts. They were even better Tang Bin and the others, and as the vice-captain, Guadi had abilities that were obviously much scarier. She always thought her own skills were already great, but faced with these people, she realized how weak and small she was. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.